If somebody's knocking you over the head, stop them. Do whatever you have to do to stop them. You know, the ones that were knocking him over the head were afraid of the fact that he might swing back. So they said, no, he's teaching hate. He's violent.
Black skin, white mask. Already know that life gets hard. And they say that we're used to the harshness. If it wasn't for the pain, I'd laugh. Truth is we knew about light before dark. Turned music to art and taught everyone to dance. And still no chance. Freedom must be too much to ask. Bleeding from the ache in my heart. Sometimes I wish it was whites in the middle like France. No, I'm not racist, just jarred. Got hate before bush, not plants. They say we should leave it all in the past, but my brother's still dying on the end, so I can't. So if my attitude stinks, don't ask, cause a hashtag won't help you understand my stance. Fuck a melody, this is real rap if you ever see. Head hot, cause the system won't let me be. Tell me how I thrive in a place that don't cherish me. And they wonder why we all need therapy. Pre the energy, yeah, just another nigga to Penelope. And they don't get it how we bottom of the barrel and still drip sauce on the world, no recipe. Weight of the world on my shoulders, all the pressures in life still tightly holding me. Pour libation for all of the fallen soldiers, but the pain still goes unspoken. They want us to stay broken, never gonna fold, fuck folding. I see my people lost hope, shit, don't you know we all been chosen.
We are oppressed, we are exploited, we are downtrodden, we are denied not only civil rights but even human rights. So the only way we're going to get some of this oppression and exploitation away from us or aside from us is come together against the common enemy.
Forgive me if you don't understand. Sorry, I'm just misunderstood. Punished if I try to take a stand. Meanwhile, my friends dying in the hood. And you can say that we're killing ourselves, but truth is they're killing us still. How you saying Black Lives Matter, but never took a moment to help. Just a trend that you post for yourself. And yeah, it takes a toll on my health, cause I want wealth like everyone else. But it's 10 times harder for me. And they wonder why my brothers put food on a scale. Yeah, when I die, I'll see heaven, that's real. Cause we already living in hell. Wish I could share all the pain I felt. Oh well, I guess I won't speak till my scars do heal. I just wanna be black with a meal. Yeah, that's for every time I had no meals. Cause my mother couldn't keep up the bills. With a handful of kids, no home, just a cell. And I don't care if conscious don't sell. Knowledge brings height to an elf. Went from sitting on thrones to a cell. Been blessed, man, it wasn't by chance we fell. Weight of the world on my shoulders, all the pressures in life still tightly holding me. Pour libation for all of the fallen soldiers, but the pain still goes unspoken. They want us to stay broken, never gonna fold, fuck folding. I see my people lost hope, shit, don't you know we all been chosen.
Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate? You should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you?
Yeah, this is real life. Kaa kimya skia. Real talk. We're coming from the ghetto. Kinondoni, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania mpaka UK. The world finest. Yeah, pambana kijana. Life is too hard, life is too short. Shao kwa nangu wote ghetto. Usikate tamaa. Jua kwamba ipo siku tutatoboa. Tutatoka. Gang for life.
I am the true name.
Blessed love, family. Blessed love. His time is up, family. I am so sorry. Blessed love all the mods that are coming in, lastminute.com. Yes, big up my sister from the Black Awards, Judge. I think the notifications are going through. Oh my God, honestly, I was due to go live, guys, bang on 9. And then one of my neighbors had an issue and I had to help her. We all look out for each other around here. So I had to help her. I had to get off and do that. And now I'm here. I just about made it. I said an hour, but actually I needed more, and I nearly cancelled. But I said, no, I can't cancel tonight. I've been saying that each week, and I'm not coming through with what I'm supposed to come through with. So blessed love all the people. Yes, Miss Hurricane Taylor. Let's kick back for a bit and let me catch my breath. Maybe I should play that theme tune again. I know everyone's piling in now. I think all the notifications are on. Blessed love, Grandma Liz. Blessed love, you don't know. I have been ordered to not speak about the trial, so I'm not. Not that I do really. I mean, what can we really say? We're not the ones banding it around social media and going on about the trial and giving details and putting up people's addresses. We're not the people that are doing that. We're just merely responding to them doing that in terms of this case. But what I can say is that we're good, and there is another court case coming up. So when it is time for me to be able to discuss that, I will. But at this present time, I cannot. Which is a good thing for us, actually, because it was recognized that things need to stop certain kind of way. So anyway, enough said about that. Not going to go into the details. What we are going to talk about today is my story. That's what's going to happen today. And I've been saying it. We need to revisit it time and time again to cover back over the footprints and the lies that go down, you know? So we've been kind of visiting that over the last few weeks. Next week, we have a huge story coming up because we are going to get back to stories, as I promised. Maybe not in the time that I've promised it because of circumstance, but we're certainly going to be doing that because that is what we are here to do. The new, how do you say it? I was going to say corporate image, but that's kind of not who we are. But our new identity, if you like, the expansion of our identity and our kind of community visual is going to change. That I said, I think at the end of last year. We're now halfway through the year and it hasn't happened yet. So that's down to the fact that we don't have funding. We don't employ anybody. Anyone who helps out does it so on a voluntary basis. Yeah. It is community service. What we do on His Time Is Up. Community service. There is no frills here in what we do. No frills whatsoever. So when it is done is when it is done at the end of the day. I do make promises, but that is my heart, guys, that is promising. The more that we can support ourselves, the more that we can push our own agenda. And that's how I want to keep it. I'm not going to sell out and become a corporate whore to these people. I am just not going to do it. I've remonstrated on it many, many times. I've been advised, come on, Afua, everything is there. You can do it. You can get the funding. I know that. I know how to write a bloody good bid. I might share one of them with you one day that I prepared when I was really kind of, under pressure to do it. And my heart and my spirit would not do it, people. Couldn't do it because I know the game. I work in that sector of public funded organizations. They're not corporate, they're not private organizations from the NHS to wherever. I know what it's about, and I know, and I've seen, and I've been a part of Black organizations that have gone for funding, including my own in the past. And I know the way that they control us. Thank you, Judge. What is the price? So if we stay here for 100 years because our people are slow off the ground to deal with their own problems, then I guess we'll just be doing that until I put myself in the grave, right? Becoming, take the people them bag. Oh, thank you, Grandma Liz. That was hit by mistake, but thank you anyway. I'm not taking their bag. We are in serious times when it comes onto the system. And the idea is not to tie yourself up in it and become beholden to it. The idea, actually, for all of us, whether we realize it or not, accept it or not, believe it or not, is to make safe our departure. That's what's supposed to be happening around here in this community. But, as the scripture says, 99% of the people are sheep. And that is a part of the problem that we have, certainly with the His Time Is Up campaign. 99% of the people are sheep. They believe rubbish that they read. They listen to lies and falsehoods, But look, this has been happening from time immemorial. The press are very good at doing this. They created that system. All we've done is ever feed into it. Do you know what I mean? None of us are here of our traditional, in our traditional ways. None of us are here in that capacity anymore, you know? So we've just taken on the ways of people that don't think like us, don't act like us. You know, they are screwed. And when I say us, I don't just mean the Black community, our community. I mean the majority of the masses, the non-elite, because they don't even know. Those who hate us don't even know how much they're being bamboozled themselves. And many of our people really don't know how much they're being bamboozled. Anyway, I digress. But in a way I don't, because part of my story is that story. I've been an activist and taken in what is known in Afrocentric circles as supreme wisdom, the wisdom that was hidden from us. I've been doing this my entire adult life since I was 17, 18 years old. And even as a child, you know, even as a child, those ideas and those ideologies and those schools of thought, those principles, those beliefs were being instilled in me by my parents. You understand me? So, you know, at the end of the day, we do, oh, blessed sis, I saw that. We do what we are trained to do, I guess. So for me, it wasn't a journey of turning up. Blessed love, Sister Paulette, I just saw that. As always, my sister, blessed love. I love this Sister Paulette Ebanks, you know, she's a proper soldier. My sister is there every week, on time, all the time, supporting the cause. And I just love that sister there. And I've never met her, I don't think. I'm bad with names, sis. If I've met you at the marches or anything, please DM me or put it in the chat or whatever, or let me know. But this is what I'm saying. It is that kind of dedication, that kind of focus towards what we're doing and recognizing that what we're doing is changing our reality as women. And when I say our reality, I don't just mean us here in the here and now. I mean our future daughters, our future generations, and our future sons. Because it's not just about talking, you know, us talking about female abuse in the Black community or male to female abuse in the Black community isn't just for the benefit of our daughters. It's a narrative that our sons also need to be au fait with and to take into their hearts so that they can go on to continue to create healthy daughters and healthy relationships. So there's a whole, you know, plethora of issues that tie into historic sexual abuse. And I've said this time and time again, you know, it's not, for those of you that have been here a long time, it is not foreign to you guys. But I'm going to share, I started my memoirs when I was, Lord have mercy, I'm 55 this year. And I probably was about 46, 47. So we're talking about, oh my God, I feel ashamed. It's about 10 years ago. I started writing my book, my life story, my book. And let me tell you people, I've said it before, I think here, that from this time till now, can I finish this book past even half of the first chapter? So I'm going to share a little bit. I'm going to share what I've written so far with you guys. And this actually, between this year and next year, you know, in the next 12 months is what I'm really saying. My aim and my ambition, I guess, has always been my ambition. But yeah, my goal, that's the word I'm looking for, is to, my mind is still on my neighbor, you know, because I told her I'd get back to her. But anyway, my goal is to finish that book before me dead anyway. But definitely within the next 12 months, this is going to be my goal. Help me to do this goal. Focus me. Remind me. If I don't speak of it or give you guys an update or a progress as to where I'm at with it, remind me in the chats. Please, 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 please. Because even for those of us, for those people that hate us, we will definitely be here in 12 months' time. So I know you guys are going to be here too, you know? It's a work. It's a work. But that story is kind of weird, you know? A lot of the writing that I've ever done in my life, whether it be God, what's going on there now? Sorry, I'm trying to open something. Oh, this is too much. Can I not open PDFs? I might have to read it from the side because I've got two monitors here. So there's something happening with my the one that I'm talking to you on, guys. I'm trying to find this piece that I'm talking about. But yeah, it's it's kind of weird. Even when I've written poems in the past and just anything, articles, whatever, especially if they're kind of deep and about myself, you know, things that I need to do, they tend to be prophetic. Like I could have written it 20 years ago and I don't know where that inspiration came from. I just sat down with my pen and paper. It usually was pen and paper in those days and not a computer. But I just sat down. Baby Afua was arriving with, thank you, my darling. With my strawberry ice cream. I've got a craving for it again. I don't know if it's a menopause thing, but I don't know if anyone, put a one in the chat if you get kind of cravings like you're pregnant sometimes. In Tanzania, I had this strawberry ice cream craving. Now it's back. Must be something in it. But yeah, it's always been prophetic. So I could have written something 20 years ago, and 20 years later, I will have the experience of what I've written. I don't know if that happens to all creative people, creative writers or whatever, but it certainly happens to me. And my memoirs is kind of like that in a sense that it was prophetic that I didn't finish it in a sense, because there was so much more unbeknown to myself. I'd lived so much and I put myself out of the country in a position where I thought, okay, this is it. I can just retire from all this foolishness and madness and craziness that goes on. I can just retire. Thank you, sweetheart. I can just retire from all of that and live my life off the grid, you know, doing me, waiting for, I don't know, the next steps. That's kind of what I thought was going to happen. And then His Time Is Up came along. So there was a whole story that needed to be told. It's pretty obvious, you know. And for me, this is where we're at now. So these memoirs are still happening, aren't they? And I believe, you know, most sort of professional writers, I suppose, most professional writers would say that you write it as you are going along, you know. So I'm just looking for this stuff. I don't like reading it from the side. It's not engaging. 1 second, guys. Let me just see if I can see it. What's the date today? Ah, here we go. Let's see if it opens. Sorry, people. You know how it is. Let's wait for this ice cream to get all mushy. Never as good as the African ice cream. I don't care what they say. But it's the wrong one as well. Bet it's the wrong one. Let's see. So I just kind of want to share it with you guys. And let me know what you think. You know, would you want to go away and read it? Would you buy the book even? Right. So yeah, this is the beginning of my life story, written by myself. Obviously, it's my life story. And yeah, it's deeply personal, you know. Much of what I do and what I talk about is deeply personal, whether it's for myself or others. But it's deeply, deeply, deeply personal in the sense that it draws up a lot of stuff. And it's the beginning of the wider story that I want to tell. And I am going to tell it here in bits, not every week, but I will be telling it along the way, because there's been some things happening lately around me in terms of my life story. Not just these trolls and these fools. I'm not even talking about them really, because they just make falsehoods and they don't know my life story. They will soon. I'm talking about my own personal life. There's been things that are kind of reactivated around me. I mean, thankfully, I'm very much over my traumas of my teenage years or whatever, and very much able to stand up in my own truth and defend myself appropriately, rather than whiling out and thumping somebody down. Because that used to be my MO, guys. You see, when I was triggered by the people who sought to harm me, whether that was emotionally, physically, or otherwise, in my young days, and they, you know how perpetrators and narcissists, it's kind of what we're going through at the moment as well, like to flip the script onto their victims. This is what they do, isn't it? Make them the bad guys and whatever. I've been going through that my entire life, and maybe that's why when it gets to that point within this campaign, it seems like it's water off a duck's back. And many of the people who are close around me often say, wow, like, you don't even seem like it affects you or whatever. That isn't necessarily true. But what I've had to learn to do my entire life is to manage that kind of onslaught. Why? Because I've always had it from certain people within my family. When I say certain people, I mean my mother, my sister, Carol, who I mentioned last week, who poked a bear at my dear brother's funeral not too long ago. So we are going to go into our relationship with that particular individual at some point, much to her disdain, I'm sure, because she's definitely a narcissist. She's somebody that thinks that she can stamp her authority on people, and tell them what to do and control the narrative and never take responsibility for her role in any kind of chaos, which is a lot. And just blame everyone. It's particularly me at the moment. She accuses me of castigating our mother. I've never done that. Papa one, if you've ever heard me, castigate my mother and call her out of her name, and I only talk about my experiences in relation to that individual. I will say my mother is a narcissist because it's true. I'm not going to tell you she's a bitch or she, there's no castigating here. It's my story and I'm allowed to tell it. So let me share something with you guys. As I say, I don't know why I feel embarrassed, people. Why do I feel embarrassed? I feel embarrassed because it is really deeply my story and where it kind of starts, and it's a lot about my my maternal genetic line and stuff like that. I mean, all the people that are named here, what I'm about to show you as well, are dead. Most definitely. They are dead, apart from my mother, of course. But, that's what we're going to talk about. But I just feel a bit weird. And I'm not sure why. I think it's because I know where the route that I'm going to show you guys is where it starts. And I know kind of that journey I've got to go through to bring it to where we are now. And that's some painful stuff sometimes, I didn't realize how painful it was till I was reading back through it earlier on. And I lost it again. I found it now. But I was reading back through it earlier on. And I thought, wow. Was it really that deep? And I've read it to certain people. I've shared it with certain people around me along the way. But that's kind of weird because it's been in maybe a sort of detached way as a writer, as opposed to the person I'm talking about. And today it kind of licked me. And I was thinking, nah, man, I'm not going to allow anybody to silence my truth. I ain't allowing it, because I know what I've been through. And what I've been through, it's not any more difficult or traumatizing than the next sister. In fact, I think it's quite light compared to some of the stories that I've had to unpack with sisters. But it's still my truth and my pain and where I came from. Pain that I am over, but pain that I share with you because we share stories here and I need to share my own story. Otherwise, it's hypocritical. I was having a conversation with one of my nearest and dearest recently, and they were saying to me, you have to share certain things because otherwise it makes you kind of hypocritical, which I know. And anytime I've shared of myself, it's been about that. So Häagen-Dazs is about one of the finest that I can get closest to our ice cream back home in Jamaica and Africa. I'm about to kind of share something before I take a lick. Oh, that sounds like drugs or something. Oh, my God. Or sex. How weird. My ice cream days. Gorgeous. But anyhow, let me share it nonetheless. And what I want you to do is put up a 1 while I'm reading. If you think this is something you're going to want to purchase, because of course no one gives their books for free or their life stories for free. Is it something that you would support? Is it something we need to see more of? I might start a blog actually still do my Friday Night Lives, but I am thinking about extending my writing. I've been thinking about it since I started this at 46, 47 years old, and recently I've been speaking to 3 sisters particularly that are bringing forward their own work and working that trauma through their work. And that gives me more inspiration to even push forward because they're inspirational sisters as well. So anyway, without further ado, food is more addictive than drugs, isn't it? My thing, not so much food, but definitely ice cream. I love ice cream. Oh my God. When I'm in Jamaica, I'm at Devon House every day. And when we're in Africa, me and baby Afua, we used to go to a place called the Village Supermarket that had an ice cream kiosk. Had an ice cream kiosk in there. And listen, Devon House, you ain't got nothing on it in terms of variety. Flavors up there as well, but I think Devon House might have the edge in flavor and creaminess and whatever. Just the edge, just slightly. But you see this place in Tanzania, oh my God, every flavor you can think of on the planet was there, and we used to feast, and it was very cheap by English standards. But me and baby Afua used to feast because we both love ice cream. I'm an ice cream head, people. For those of you that don't know, love ice cream. And you know, for my entire life, I've been one of those lucky ones that 4 kids, never trained, hit a gym. I did martial arts for a bit, and I did gymnastics in my young days and running. So muscle has memory. And it just holds you into your adult life. I had 4 children, abs in my 40s, late 40s, when I wrote this. Size 8 to 10, always that. Menopause hit at 50, put on a little bit of chunk. But I kind of don't mind it because, you know, finally I kind of look, you know, a bit more mumsy rather than a young girl. I don't know. The greys start coming, the lines start coming, and we see our future in terms of the fact that we have more years behind us than the years we have ahead of us, you know, and that's a kind of sobering truth for anybody. I don't care what they say. Are you obsessed with it? I certainly am not. I crack on. I'm 21. I say it to my kids all the time. You are as young as you feel, and I definitely know that I don't have all of these kind of unfortunate ailments that I saw a lot in my people's, my maternal line, you know, the blood pressure and the diabetes, and that I see out in the community with sisters of my own age that I went to school with. I'm thinking, rough, but I don't feel like I've taken care of myself. Do you know what I mean? It's genetic, but you can no longer take it for granted after a certain point, and that's the point, isn't it? I think that's the point. It is indeed. So let me go into this anyway. Tell me what you guys actually think. Where's it gone again? Oh, annoying. Hold on, let me see if I can find it again, guys. I've lost it. Oh, here it is. There we are. Let me share my screen. Put up a 1 if this is something that you would buy or support. Right. Share my screen. Oh, fuck. I've actually shared the wrong screen. That's getting edited out in the morning. Lord have mercy. I did not mean to share that screen, actually. Oh, my God. Nope, not yet. Not yet. It's all good. It's all good. It is what it is. Okay. Let me share it properly. I've lost it again, guys. What is going on here? 1 second. Okay. Oh, I know what's happening. I actually know what's happening here. Give me a minute. Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's it. Let me see if I can do it this way. You know what it is? I'm not sharing it from a tab. So I'm kind of a little bit. Here we go. Hadn't opened it. Hadn't opened it. Hasn't opened it. Here we go. Right, that's where we are. Great. So why don't you write a book? You should write a book. Oh my God, really? You've got to write a book. I've been told this many times. 1 second, guys. On the wrong screen again. There's always something that wants to try to prevent the thing, man. Let's see. Right. Okay. Right. Here we go. So Afua's memoirs, prologue. Why don't you write a book? You should write a book. Oh my God, really? You've got to write a book. I've been told this many times for many years now. Each time I tell an anecdote or recall a story from my life, I am told this, but never have I even attempted to make it manifest till now. Where would I start with this book anyway? Who would actually be interested in my life? Isn't all this drama normal? Surely other people live like this. It can't just be me. My life is not unusual, is it? When would I have time to take on a mammoth task like that anyway? There are as many doubts as there are memories to recall. There are those memories that plot rebellion in my unconscious where I've imprisoned them for their dangerous attacks on my self-concept. So many memories, some faded by virtue of age, and others lost in the annals of the ether, abetted by my penchant for ganja. I do have a host of happy ones that tickle me in reminiscence, and an abundance of painful ones I would rather not recall. But recall I must, if I am to make this happen. For this will be more than the scribing of a book that merely entertains the reader, or provides the author with potential remuneration and fame. This will be the cleansing of my soul. This will be the purge that ends all toxic emotional infections from the last 40 plus years. The lancing of a boil rancid with a dysfunctional family's history, pus filled with deceptions, intrigues, and untruths. The collection functional insanity that raised me and whose paranoid, manic, depressive, and narcissistic breast I suckled upon well past the weaning age of any child. The emotional staple diet that has hampered my entire adult life. I sometimes thirst for that infested milk, but in the realization of how septic it turned, I have resolved to never feed from it again. If independent incidents from my life do not make for engaging reading, which is my fear, of course, then I am sure the escapades of my familial past will draw intrigue and hold a reader to the very end of any book. It is through family that I have arrived to tell this tale, and it is because of them that I have taken so long to tell it. Chapter 1. Do you ever ask yourself, what is my very earliest memory? You know, that faded, almost non-existent flash that permeates your thoughts at random and without warning. The one memory in your mind that isn't preceded by anything else in your memory bank or recall mechanism. Your earliest childhood memory. For some, it's their first Christmas, birthday party, or going to hospital for the first time. Well, I wish mine was so banal. I used to long for mine to be as ordinary as that. My earliest childhood memory was around aged about 18 months old. I was later told by my mother. I'm standing in my cot looking through the railings. My mummy and daddy are having an argument, a really scary, bad argument. I actually remember the feeling of wanting them to stop and feeling afraid. I'm looking at my mother's dress and I'm fascinated by it. It's a soft shade of powdery purple. It's fitted in the body with full mutton sleeves. The skirt is maxi and flares slightly as it cascades to the ground. There are tailored buttons that run from the neck to the hem. Beautiful. My mother is beautiful, with her flawless, deep chocolate skin, perfect physique, high cheekbones, and perfectly round Angela Davis afro. I look at my daddy, whose face is contorted in anger. I don't like when he looks like that. I love my handsome, funny daddy, who plays with me and throws me in the air with his smooth, slick-back, silky hair, coffee-coloured skin, and twinkly eyes. Suddenly, to my horror, fear and confusion, the shouting increases, and my mother's dress has turned a darker, more scary-looking purple. I am devastated. I really like the powdery purple colour of my mummy's dress. I later found out from my mother that what I witnessed was an argument between her and my dad because he did not want her to go out dancing with her friends, and she was standing her ground. Unwilling to admit defeat, my father threw a bucket of water over my mum, thus wetting her dress and it, of course, changing colour. Lesson learned. Be careful what you say and do in front of even the smallest child. they will remember. I never actually grew up and saw my father as the jealous type. I often wondered what would make him behave that way. That would have been 1971 if I was 18 months old. My 5 older siblings would have still been living in Jamaica with my grandmother, and my little brother was not yet born. It was just me, my mum, and my dad. I remember. My mother and father were part of Britain's Windrush generation. They were amongst the final trickle from the wave of West Indian immigrants that had flooded in from the Caribbean to England between 1948 and 1970. Many of them believing the British-fueled myth that the mother country's streets were literally paved with gold. Ex-colonials of the British Empire, whose African forebears had sweated the Caribbean soil, producing sugar, coffee, bananas, tobacco, and rum for the empire, under the lash of the overseer's whip in servitude slavery, who without reparation, recognition, or gratitude had been freed by the British in 1836, only to inherit poverty and oppression under colonial rule. My parents grew up in colonial Jamaica and supported the youth effort in gaining independence for Jamaica in 1962. My father was born in Montego Bay at the onset of the Second World War in 1939, and my mother was born in Clarendon on the east of the island in 1943, just 2 years before the end of it. Apparently, I have a granduncle on my father's side who fought in World War II. My mother, who was the only child for her mother, was from an upper working class background and was born around the wealth of her grandmother's husband's citrus farming. Albeit not a direct blood relative to the man she knew as her grandfather, he had married my great-grandmother Joanna, or Joni, who already had a daughter out of wedlock, my grandmother, but he'd taken both girls as his own. His name was David, or as everybody calls him in my family, Papa David. They raised my grandmother Catherine and went on to have 6 more children, Debert, Jacinda, Enid, Ferdinand, Anne, and David Jr., fondly called Dabby. Their daughter Anne, my grandaunt, went on to become one of the most instrumental and influential figures in my life, especially the earlier part of it. My father, by comparison, was born to a dirt-poor harbour-dwelling family. He was from a sibling group of 7 and knew the meaning of hard work from a very early age, growing up very near to the harbour town of Montego Bay, which in those days was fast establishing itself as a tourist destination for the famous and wealthy. My father was an avid swimmer and keen seaman. He was also a skilled stonemason and was never out of work, be it in the building trade or on the many ships that came in and out of the harbours of Ocho Rios and Montego Bay and Kingston. It was while living and working in Kingston that my mother and father met each other. I have never been told the actual circumstances, but I do know my father worked for Edward Seaga, famous leader of the opposition at the time, and it was he who provided my parents' wedding car. They both remained deeply political and rooted in Jamaican politics for as long as I can remember. In my adult life, I came to perceive Edward Seaga to be a profoundly corrupt and violent leader. It would be interesting to know more about my father's dalliance with such a man. I'm guessing my father was forced to work on building contracts and such like while having to vote JLP as gratitude for the privilege of employment, which was not unusual in 1950s, 60s Kingston, Jamaica. What do you guys think? Carry on? Scrap it? That don't make it? But that's what I'm working on at the moment, people. That's the beginning of my story. And, you know, I call genealogy because that's kind of what we do as African people. We're supposed to actually call genealogy and give honor and call the names of our ancestors and those that have passed, you know. But the prologue and a piece of the first chapter is all I've got, you know, as far as I've bloody well got, basically, as far as I've got, people. But I'm gonna bring it forward. Everyone's encouraging me to do it. I need to do it. I feel in my soul I have to do it, and that's what's going to happen. But let's get into the main part of it now. Now my ice cream's melted just reading that because my house is hot. So I'm eating something else. Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. A piece of news says BC. That's funny. Driver, don't stop at all. Carry this Arizona gonna Alabama. That's actually what mashed up Budget, that song. That really turned them onto him. Thank you, Aksali Miriam. I'm gonna do it. I haven't written, do you know what? I haven't really sat down in the way I used to in past decades of my life. I haven't. I really haven't. Ever since I turned 50, I literally have been on the go, on the move again. And I'm looking back on it and I'm thinking, you used to get a lot more kind of downtime and solace when you were younger. And, you know, I think I was actively practicing that though. I was very much like my middle daughter. I was into my crystals and my meditations. And, you know, it was all about that for me. And somewhere along the line, I think I started loading on other people and other energies and maybe, you know, a little bit too much to my own detriment. And we're going to be getting back into that. And self-care is definitely a thing for women of my age, you know. Everything is being depleted from us, albeit that our children have grown up and a lot of that burden is gone. But there are other burdens that we take on and we get grandchildren and other burdens come along. And physically, we are being depleted of magnesium, of vital nutrients in our bodies because of the aging process and the menopausal aging process, which makes it even more profound than the aging process of men. And that's something I kind of want to teach on because it's experience, isn't it? And we talk from experience. So that's kind of what we're about, you know, going forward. Don't you just love that when we're not dealing with cases and these people can't come in to chat passa because they can't, not my own story. You don't really see them. Have you noticed that? Don't really see them at all. And I have been low key. Let's have it right. You know, I have been very low key. I've had some DMs and guys, yeah, quite a few DMs. Afua, you know, what's happening? Are you still kind of doing your thing? And because I'm not kind of on, you know, I used to put out a lot more videos on Instagram and big up the thing and bounce it. I haven't been doing that. A lot going on. And no, we're not talking about the recent proceedings. And what's going on is not negative, but there's a lot going on. So less time, you know. But when it comes on to abuse, you guys all know I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor of domestic violence, both physical from one partner, well, all of it. Physical abusers usually come with the bag. Physical and emotional abuse from one partner. What is baby father, baby Afua's dad, and emotional abuse and controlling and coercive behavior from Viv Amon. And that is my entire adult life because I met him when I was, you know, we were both quite young. I think I was 20, maybe, something like that. He was 25, thereabouts, 5-year gap between us, but young. And then we grew up together in that regard, you know, and had kids and did our thing, and then we split. He was kind of, you know, staring at 40. I was still in my 30s when we split up, but it's a long time to be around someone and in your most formative years, you know, they are going to have an impact. And I mean, vice versa, and shape you in a way. That's going to happen whether you want it or not. You know, show me your company, I'll tell you who you are. It's gorgeous. I love this. Show me your company and I'll tell you who you are, you know. So that's kind of how it was for me. And I was very young compared to him. Even though at that age, I was a powerhouse in my own right in terms of my peers and what I was on and what they were on and what I was doing, what they were doing, you know. So I guess that's what caught his eye, because this is a man that loves powerful women. This is a man that loves intelligent women. This is a man that loves to break those kinds of women down. That's his thing. That is his thing. He doesn't go for, you know, many people like that go for the weak and the vulnerable. That's just kind of, I don't know, toilet paper for him, the weak and the vulnerable. You know, he does that one in his sleep. his great challenge and his thing is to break down people that are strong. You know, that's how far it goes for this individual. So we had a glimpse last week of the lies. This is so good, people. It's so good. We had a glimpse of the live last week, guys, of the emails from the social worker, which is categorically confirmed. Funny how no one's going on about it. All you people who are up in my DMs on your fake profiles saying nasty things about me and my ex-partner Viv. Yeah? All of you people that were doing that, all of you people that were under the posts of lives I've done or videos I've done about it or whatever, that were spewing whatever he's put out there and whatever is done Chinese whispers after that. Where's your public apology? Where's your retractions? Is what I really want to know at the end of the day, you know? But let's get into it, guys. I'm going to share some of my story with this guy, about this guy, should I say. And I'm going to kind of read some emails. I cannot show them because they include the names of my children. And they are plenty. Let me tell you, there are a lot of them. A lot of them that go back well over a decade and beyond. Because this is somebody that loves to send emails. I mean, I do too. But at the end of the day, there's definitely a paper trail, because this one loves to contact you by email, because, you know, it's more dispassionate, isn't it, to do that. It's once removed and it's colder than having a conversation. So he likes to send emails, and it's more business-like for him because he doesn't do personal at all, not even in a marriage. It's all business every day, all day. You know, there's nobody that knows him that is going to try to say that I'm lying about that. This man, have you ever had a personality that never switches off? Always is in the boardroom, continuously. Even when you're having a romantic weekend away, man's in the boardroom. And I don't just mean working. I'm talking about the way they communicate. It wasn't like that in the beginning, but it became that. Why are we having a meeting? And why are there minutes when we're talking about the state of our relationship? You know, that kind of head screw? It was insane. And in my young days, not having developed the coping mechanisms to deal with that kind of thing, you saw in that prologue what my earliest memory was. Violence. That was my earliest memory. And my mother, let me tell you, my mum is as sweet as pie. But don't cross that there woman there. She's that kind of mother. I've spoken about her on, you know, Spray's podcast and whatever, what kind of mum she was. And people are like, hey, make it, whatever. Don't say you don't recognize that, especially when you're from the islands. Do you know what I'm saying? We're fighters, we're fierce. We come off of the plantation, we'll swing our lass. It is what it is. You know, and it's always for the right cause. We ain't going out there troubling people. My mum wasn't a troublemaker. Not at all. Not in that way. Maybe towards me and in the home and towards, you know, my dad and whatever. But no, not kind of going out there and just fussing with people and troubling them. No, I would not say that about her. But bring it to her and let me tell you, it is on. And I carry that trait. So when I was younger, that was very much wild and uncultivated about me. You know, 18, 19, 15, 16, these ages. I was a fighter. I love fight. Look at me the wrong way, but I never started a fight. And that's the thing. Apart from if it was kind of racially motivated in the sense where my brother gets beaten up by skinheads and I go and we've got racist kids at school and whatever, say the wrong thing and call us Kizzy or Roots and I'm banging you up first. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. But to go and start and bully somebody and have, you know, beat them up, that wasn't my thing. But come to me with it and it's going to be a fight that you never forget. That's kind of how I was right up through my 20s, you know, and no one could believe it because I was only a little thing. And I was, you know, well-spoken and did positive things and, you know, never troubled anyone really. But the minute there was a conflict and I felt threatened, is what it was. It would trigger my trauma of being abused, sexually abused particularly, because I used to love to fight men, actually, with my little self. I'm not a woman of big stature. I wasn't then, I'm not now really. But when it comes to men, I'd allow women because I think it ain't gonna be a fair fight. I want a challenge. I want to tear up is what I want. So my response to a lot of this psychological abuse and programming and all this nastiness that was going on, which, you know, controlling and coercive behavior. Well, of course, we know what those words means, but put together as an offense, it wasn't a thing at the time. We didn't have that. We didn't have those labels, you know. I just knew that you were a controlling guy. I knew you were a narcissist. We had that label, and not a widely known label, but because I was studying in the arts at the time, same as him, we knew what that was. And I knew that he was displaying those traits. But actually, this man, in the early days when the Black community didn't know what those words meant, he used to go up and say, I am a narcissist. And that was his kind of anecdotal opening, you know, his intro to many of his public talks. When you think back on it, like, wow, talk about psychopath, you should have said that one, because they usually want people to know their prey and what it does. Their prey to know what they're doing at the end of the day. So I'm going to kind of read through some emails of correspondence between him and I. You know, there's a couple of things. Give me some time to find it again. I did have one. As I said. Where you gone? Loads of them. So I'm not going to show them, but I'm going to read them. And it's a couple, just to give you an idea of the atmosphere and what it is, and the attack that I'm constantly under, or was under. Because the biggest favor that ever was done to me is that we cut contact completely. I tell you that. It was traumatic dealing with that individual. Honestly, absolutely traumatic. Trying to raise my children, trying to do that, a co-parent in a healthy way with an individual that is nothing but hostile, only ever seeks to bring you down, only ever seeks to put you down at every turn, and manipulates you, your children, the school. You know, I used to say to him, because every minute he hasn't received, oh, well, I haven't received it. I haven't received the email. I haven't received this. I haven't received that. You sure you sent it? You didn't. Constant mind games. I used to say to him, what is wrong with your part of cyberspace? Because me not understand how come you never get nothing yet. You send an email, you send a text notifying him of something, whatever it is, something, you know, important. It could be at the school play. Usually that's what it was when he would deny. Funny how he always got the emails or the texts where I was cussing him off. Do you understand what I'm saying? Always got them and love to answer back. And this would be after how many emails of saying it's parents' evening tonight. You know, your child has a play. These things. Now, when it comes to Watley's baby father, to be fair, when we were together, because that's his thing, that's his messed upness. Not with you. You hurt me because you left me. Screw you and your pick me. That's what he's on, because he's not very bright. So that's what he's on. And he's mega super ignorant. So that's what he's on. Whatever, innit? Like, you can almost navigate that. You can navigate that. It's not rocket science. It is what it is. And you can give that rhyme and reason. But to somebody who stands up in the community, the way that this man does, I had to endure when him and I split up, and my middle daughter was very, very young. She was like newborn when we split up. And knowing all the things that this man had put me through in terms of that abuse and control and coerciveness and emotional abuse and all that stuff, which is, you know, anyone that knows about abuse knows that that can sometimes be way more damaging than any kind of bucks and kick and thump, any kind of physical abuse. Emotional abuse is for the most part a lot more lasting. Do you understand? Speak to anyone who's been physically abused, and they'll often tell you it is the emotional side of that abuse that stays with me, you know? And so that's the bit that starts to erode you, no matter how strong you are, no matter how dedicated you are to your own self-concept, which I know I had that naturally in abundance. I didn't need to work at that part, you know, no matter how rooted you are, a skilled and clever narcissist like the one that Viv Amon is can start to chip away at you. And he certainly did that to me. He couldn't do that now because I'm definitely more robust and I know all the moves. But in my 20s and my 30s, nah, this man had me spinning at one point with his mind games, you know? He really did. And my response to that would be, after I'd finished talking and intellectualizing and couldn't take no more of that, and looking at the disrespect and everything else, don't come in front of my face because I'm probably going to try and lick you down. Your alter Ada. How dare you try to intimidate me like this? How dare you try to assert your male power on me in this way? And that's part of my trauma. That's part of my pathology, guys, is that I don't really have it off of abusive men. And I guess that feeds into then why I would be so motivated when I heard the news I heard about Vincent Rapp from one dearest to me, to be so motivated and do this. It just makes sense, right? Because my people say to me, are like, what's all these people going on about? You know, what are they all going on about? Anyone who knows you knows this has been your crusade for your whole life. This kind of thing. Nonsense or whatever, you know, it's always been your thing. Why has it always been my thing? Because of what I'm talking about now, because of this. And because then what happens is, once you have the original trauma, your core self, your familial self, the 0 to 7, you know, you just bag bits of personality on top of that after that, that you kind of collect along the way according to your experiences, right? But your core self attracts that as well. So here I go out into the world, coming from a very complex home, not necessarily an unloving home, because it was just a home of dualities for me, guys. It was a home of duality. On the one hand, it was very nurturing in terms of the way my mum nurtured us. You know, nobody can cook like my mum. I don't care what anybody says. You know what I'm saying? I try, and my children will be saying the same about me, because I am a bloody good cook. You know, I cook anything, and I'm a dab hand at many cuisines, especially my own. But yeah, nobody could cook like my mom. The dedication of being a Windrush nurse on those wards, and they had it hard on those wards, the racism, the conditions, everything. Got it off the patients, everybody in those days. You know, she had to endure all of that. I get that. She came with her own trauma from the island. Get that. But she would still get up 5 a.m. every morning. We didn't have ready break. We didn't have cereal, cornflakes to get off to school in the morning. We were like yard children in our house. My mum would be up at the crack of dawn making hominy porridge. She'd boil that from the night before. You know, fried dumpling, whatever it was. My mum had it catered, and we grew like yard picking. My mum didn't agree with English food, to be fair. And if she did do it, she did it like how I do it now, with that yard flavour. Bit of shepherd's pie or whatever it was at the time. I remember her doing lots of that kind of stuff for us. Couldn't give my dad them things. My dad is a real countryman. Don't give him nothing but yard food and ground provisions. Get me? Ground provision, meat, fish, yard food. That's my dad. Yeah, I remember my mum like trying to get continental because she's very stush, my mother. Hey, you can't dress like my mother. You can't step like my mother. You cannot show up like my mother. Trust me. Anyone who knows this woman knows that. And in our family, she's a legend for that. You understand what I'm saying? Legend, my mother Dessa. But there was a side that was just so dread. You know, I often call it her sunshine and her shade. Step out of the sunshine and woe betide you. So that was kind of my experience of my mum, and I was my mum's favorite. I was the love of her life, me and my little brother. And then I fell from grace because I started to speak my truth. Now, my other siblings, whether they accept that or not, that is the point where it changed. You know, they may, so a couple of them agree with that. Yes, that is the point where it may have changed in terms of the way she started to relate to you. But the one that I don't get along with, I think in her head, she's always saying, you know, but you were the favorite. And you were like, for God's sake, there's been like 30, 40 years of violations after that. It doesn't stick. So this is kind of, you know, the journey, and I'm giving you guys a whistle stop. When the book comes out, you'll read the details of kind of what I'm saying. You know, when you tell a life story, there's so many facets to it, and you're never going to remember it in one sitting. And this bit connects to that bit, and that bit connects to that bit, and you can't really tell that bit till you tell that bit. Crazy. You have to write a book. So that's kind of what I'm going to do. But, you know, I came from that, is what I'm saying. And my experience, my early experience of relationships, like anybody, were tumultuous, actually, if I'm honest. I didn't have bad experiences of men treating me badly in the kind of obvious ways. You know, people outside looking in would go, oh, they were good brothers, and, you know, they looked after you. But, you know, and my oldest daughter's father did. You know, there weren't no real issues there. My trauma had not yet awakened, because what people need to understand about early childhood trauma, it either presents itself on the spot, depending on the child's character and coping mechanisms, or it can be suppressed. So you just crack on as a kid. And my personality was that I cracked on. You know, and often you'll find with creative people that end up being performers or whatever, you'll find that the basis of that is early childhood trauma. There's an excellent book that I used to read a lot when I was studying, called The Drama of the Gifted Child by Anna Freud. Go and check it out. It's a really good read, and it kind of gives you a good, deep understanding of that kind of thing. But the drama of the gifted child, and I really was the drama of the gifted child as a kid. And my mum, you know, she kind of enjoyed my gifts. She took responsibility for that and credit, which in a way she should, because my mum was an extremely creative woman. You know, she could sing, and she could have been all the way up there, especially in the 60s when she first landed here. And her stories is that my dad held her back because obviously he wanted his wife and family and whatever. But yeah, and she was great with her hands. I didn't have that. You know, a lot of my siblings are very good artists and drawers. You know, my mum has that. She's got that creative design thing going on. Can sew anything and make it look like it come from Harrods. You know what I mean? Just multifaceted talents. So I've got a few in my bow, a few strings in terms of talents. I'm not a one talent person, and I know I got that from my mother. But and also my steely character, you know, my resolution, like, nah, not having it type of thing. My some people would say bravery, although I don't really claim that. It's just kind of, is it brave? I don't know. I think sometimes it's stupid. You know what I mean? It's sometimes stupid and often reckless to some, but our character is our character. And I've always been, even since I was a little child, somebody who could never sit quietly while I saw other people suffering. Like, I was always that kid. And because I knew I was good at fighting, if I saw a bully in our school or whatever, bullying a child that I knew could not really defend themselves, I'd beat up the bully. And I'd get a lot of pleasure out of doing that. I beat up the bully. So I grew up beating up bullies. And my people then weren't no different. Even my extended people, you know, there's a section of them that are very much like me. We're very, very similar in our temperament and our character. You know, I come from a line of extremely strong women. Yes, man, metalback women. You understand what I'm telling you? And many of us do as black women come from some metalback women. You know, you chop anything at them, they'll bat that out of the park. I deal with praying women, women of faith and character and strength. That's my lineage. So I can't be no other way. I don't know any other way. And don't try bully me. You understand, Sister Toya? Keep it moving, my sister. And part of it is about our area, you know. We had to go for a lot of crap that a lot of, you know, the people in the more populated areas of our community didn't go through. When we were growing up in them eras in East London, there was a lot of hostility. So you kind of just add it like that. And then coming again from the family that I came from and the lineage of women that I came from, just grew up fighting. But I learned from a really, really early age, from my late teens really, that actually fighting with your fists was not necessarily the best way forward. You know, it was the pen that was mightier than the sword. And learning that at, I think, very early age, and I can't remember who said that now, it may well have been Shakespeare, but I was mad into Shakespeare. I remember my mum taking me up to Tottenham Court Road to a bookshop called Foyles. We didn't have access. There wasn't Amazon to go and order your books off, and your local library weren't stocking certain things. So things were more centralized in the West End in those days. I remember my mum traipsing through, distance, because it just was, nothing was as connected. So everywhere was far. Going West End was a trek for the day. And I remember me and her alone. She didn't take any of my siblings. I was doing my O-levels and I needed this set book. It was the complete works of Shakespeare, which was very expensive for a Windrush family in those days. Very expensive book when I think about it. And my dad probably would have cussed about the book. You can't get a cheaper version or whatever. He wouldn't have got it. But my mum, of course, she got it. I needed the complete works of Shakespeare. When you're a kid in those days, that trip up the West End, and you always put on your best clothes. And I got my mum to myself for the day. And it's all about, what I want to be. I want to be an actress, and I want to be a writer, and I want to be these things. So I'm into Shakespeare. And I got top marks in those English GCSE Shakespeare bits. So, yeah, she traipsed up there and she bought me that book. It was things like that. My mum was a good mum. She wasn't a bad mum in those regards. And she always, always, always showed an interest in our education, the betterment of it, supplemented that, made sure that we were in all the right classes and doing sport, and ahead of her time, really, because not many Windrush mothers and fathers were into that. And my dad certainly wasn't. My dad was about go look, work, and support the household. You understand what I'm saying? He would have been more about that than education. But my mum, she was ahead of her time, man. But you know what? The things that she has done, the things that have driven me from, as I say in there, the narcissistic breast that I suckled upon well past the weaning age of any child. It is the truth. I had to extricate myself from it. I had to. It was killing me. That connection and the toxicity of it in my adult life was killing me. And once I did that, once I severed that tie, and I've said to everybody, I never cut my mum off. My mum cut me off because she couldn't deal with my truth. She couldn't. And she's always tapped on, as kind of extensions of herself, my siblings onto herself as vanguards that she never has to take responsibility. And they enable her all day long. And they're highly articulate people. We all are. So they can rationalize what they do and they can try to whatever, but don't wash with me. And they know that. So they just see me as difficult. My siblings. Difficult. And in my later years, particularly since I started telling my story publicly, I really assert my truth and who I am more vehemently than I ever did before. So it's pissed them off. Of course it has, because they're still rooted in their trauma and their lack of truth about self, and about the journey. So I stand here liberated, people, and I stand here healed. And I feel sorry for my siblings, really, because, they think, like most unhealed people who aren't facing their stuff, they knock you down for doing it. And because, they've made successes of their lives or whatever, they can't even see their trauma. You see, if that trauma led them to the worst parts, becoming a drug addict, prostitutes, whatever, they see their trauma a lot quicker. But you see them ones that don't, who hold themselves up high, they will never see it. They will absolutely never see it, people. Thank you, Blackberry Juice. Please hit the like, subscribe button, all of that good stuff, because it helps the algorithm and it puts the message out there. So let me read through some emails. I'm trying to find them as I'm talking, but I find my ability to multitask has diminished with age as well. Let me pick one here. I had them earlier. Oh, God. This is crazy. Blah, 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 blah. It's the castigation, isn't it? It's the castigation. So when I fell out of my mother's grace, what followed was berating, lies and twisting of narratives and trying to get me into problems and just the most awful stuff that a mother should never do to their own children. Awful, awful, awful stuff. Character assassination. Awful, awful, awful stuff. Mind games, lies, twisting. It's just crazy, crazy stuff. So imagine I get into my kind of major relationship in life. All of my relationships have been serious and lasted longer than a decade, except my oldest daughter's dad, because that only really lasted, let me see, 3 years, you know, but I was 16 when I met him. That's about three, maybe going into 4 years, and that was that. But we have remained the best friends, you know, in terms of, when I say the best friends, in terms of the others. You know, maybe if you stay too long, it just all goes a bit mad. But anyway, never had any issue with him. That wasn't normal, as I say in Jamaica, man and woman story things with the first one. Then imagine now, I'm now coming into my own, innit? I've come off my childhood thing. I've had a child relatively early, and that was my first ever relationship ever, my first ever person. You know, I was a virgin when I met him. So I've gone through that, and that, you know, that does shape you a little bit, but it doesn't really define you. It's the next one, isn't it? It's the one that you grow up in now. That's the one that's going to kind of define you going forward, I believe, anyway. It certainly defined me. So then I meet Mr. Amun, and I met him through my best friend at the time, who's a boy that I went to school with, and we'd grown up together that way. And he met him first because I believe Viv was doing some sort of community project thing with my friend's mum, you know, who was a social worker, actually, and a bit of a community activist type of woman. And so they were working together, and he was a young kind of up and coming powerhouse in his own right. He was a development worker, a drug project. I've said this before. So no high powered job at that point, really. Although in the Black community, as a guy of his age, it was a good job, and he was in the right direction, wasn't he, at that age? And that's the only kind of guys that I was interested to. I never brought roadman home to my family. Yeah, the only roadman or ex-roadman I've ever had a child for is the one, what is baby father in my flipping early 40s, sorry. Yeah, that wasn't happening in my young life, not at all. And certainly not from the family I came from. I couldn't even entertain that. I dated one roadman before that, but he got hidden from my people. Totally hidden. That was a guy, God rest his soul, Timothy Sorrento. Yeah. I say God rest his soul because he never personally treated me really badly, but he was a nasty piece of work in many, many, many ways. And he did scare me a couple of times where it looked as if he could have hit me. But other than that, he actually treated me quite well. And it was a rarity, apparently, according to his mum. You know, it was a rarity. So I don't know what happened there, but I was spared him. So that never happened. And then I met Mr. Amun, who at the time was called Vivian Reed, or Viv Reed, you know. So we met. It was fantastic in the sense that I felt I had met my soulmate and my better half, because by the time I was 19, 20 meeting him, I was 20 when I met him. By the time there, I was already on my journey for the last couple of years after having left the first one, you know. Each kind of gateway or doorway of my life is kind of marked by a particular poem in my head, because I was writing a lot in them days. And when it came on to my oldest daughter's father, the poem that marks that, the line that sticks with me from that is, I started to read X and Garvey's philosophy, and that's where him and I had to part company. Man was a system man. He weren't about none of that black stuff. As a black man, he weren't about that black stuff. Now stop all of that. That's just troublemaking, that is. That's what he's saying. No, Denise, because he's the only one who has the right to call me Denise. Him. You understand what I'm saying? And people in my very close family. There's only people who have the right to do that. I used to enforce my African name a lot more, you know, in terms of claiming back my ancestral rights and passage. So, yeah, he used to go, nah, Denise, that's troublemaking, that is. And because he was from a deeper part of East London than me. I was from the blacker end of East London. We didn't have them kind of vibes. And I used to think, what is this? I couldn't deal with all of that. So I started to read X and Garvey's philosophy. And that's where him and I had to part company. I started to go on marches, and I was at uni, and I was, I was getting political at that stage in life. So it was never the twain was going to meet at that stage. And it's very interesting that, because the more enlightened one along that road is Vivamun. I met him in a kufi, with a kufi, black beads. You know that we read in the 90s, guys? With the kufi and the black beads and the big anchor around their neck. Yeah, and his nickname was Uncle Black. And the man could preach, just like I could. As a young gal in them days, I could bring the knowledge and teach and preach. And he could too. And of course, as a young girl, nowadays, as my middle daughter would call them man they are called Hotep Dons. And a lot of them are actually charlatans. So we didn't know that in those days. We were just like, wow, brother be vibrating. Wow, Hotep, brother. Brother be vibrating. Brother's got the bead, brother's got the knowledge. Spit it, brother. That's my era that we come from. And this man personified that. I'd never seen it in this country. In America, loads. But him, at that time, and what he was presenting, I'd never seen it from a brother in this country. And with the power that it came with. Enough brothers try it and have tried it since him. But it ain't got that power. He had power in terms of the way that he could hold his people and teach them. They listened to him, and that was a big, big attraction for me as the young little mujahid that was emerging at that time. But I was to be drinking it up. He also introduced to me new schools of thought. I was very much Judeo-Christian centered in the sense of, no, actually, let me rephrase that, because no, I was Nation of Islam. I was Hebrew Israelite teachings, looking into that. Do you understand what I'm saying? But I was searching, is what I was really doing at that time. Of course, I'd come from the Caribbean Christian thing and yada, yada, yada. So, it was a serious time in my development, coming out of my teens into my very early 20s, linking this brother. Do you understand what I'm saying? There was an instant connection, and that was mutual. It was obvious to us, and it was obvious to people around us, and it was a mutual connection that just kind of became very deep very quickly because of this whole thing, and it was a deep physical connection that we had as well, very much so. So all of that was playing out. In the mix comes children, and responsibilities start to increase and whatever. So I go on this journey with this brother, innit? And slow along the way, probably only slower than it should have been because I was not awake to it. And it was still slow because even those around me, my gatekeepers, my people that deeply love me and have my back and whatever, my family, started to side-eye the thing and don't know about him. Even my sister did not like him. Never liked him. In fact, she sniffed him very early, to be fair. But I think a lot of that wasn't based for the right reasons. It was around her own stuff. But she did. I thought the sun shined out of his ass, to be fair. I did. I was proud to call him my man. Because the brother was so on it in them days. On it. And not just on it mouth, on it professionally, on it community-wise, on it. And I felt I'd met my male counterparts. I'd never met anyone that was as driven and as focused on stuff like that as I was. So, of course, fell head over heels in love, as you do as a young girl, right? And wanted to be the best, wanted to support the brother. But I wanted to be that as a black woman anyway. That was the teachings at the time is, you look at the sisters in the Panthers and how they supported the cause. And, that's the kind of tradition and era that we're coming out of, really. That what we picked up was the legacy of that in the 80s when I came in the game. But obviously that's coming down from that tradition in the 60s and whatever. And that's what we were doing. That's what we were doing. That's what we were prepared to do. All of the sisters that were around us at that time, in that era, while our counterparts and our peers were cocking up their foot on speaker box in Batty Rider, dancing up themselves to Shabba, which I did do as a teenager, by the way, a few times. It was never really me. I just, you know, you go to a party or whatever. It wasn't my kind of thing. My thing was always performing. I was always doing that as a kind of distraction to whatever else was going on at 15, 16, you know. But I've been there. But that was kind of the era from the late 80s to the 90s. While they were all doing that, we were planning moves and demonstrations and organizations to better Black people and try and create economic base and Pan-Africanists. That's what we were doing. Everything is in the pity that I do now. We were doing it and doing it hard and doing it well. And obviously in those days you had way more support. You can't get 10,000 Black people on the road right now for a cause. Not even the big ones like the Chris Cabbers and Child Q and whatever. It still ain't 10,000 Black people because we do not care the way we used to. So that's the era, you know, that's what I was experiencing at that time, while at the same time trying to kind of build a relationship and recognize family life, which was, you know, not the most conventional because of who we were and what we did and, you know, the places we went. Weren't the most conventional, but it was decent and it was productive. And my children definitely have never, ever been brought up in any kind of deprivation at all. You know, I worked hard to make sure that my children never, ever had to grow up on a council estate. Hard. Never. Because I didn't. And my parents worked hard. So why would I come back and do less for my them? So that was the struggle. That was the fight. And then when him and I split up, because it was a nasty split, it was the most acrimonious, horrible split ever. You understand me? It weren't nice at the end of the day. And I guess these kinds of things never are, especially with people kind of with that kind of profile in the community at that time. Weren't nice. So I'm going through all of that, and I'm still kind of, 31, 32? When you guys saw me in that Slovo thing, I'm fresh off the back of that. Fresh off the back of all of that. And like I said last, when I showed it, it was me claiming back me on the back of a very messy end of relationship and breakup. Because the beginning weren't messy. I can't give the man that. He treated me like a queen. He did. Yeah, it got messy with the more power that he sought and the more power he got. It got messier, you know. Priorities changed, and it was all about him, and it's all about his meetings and his this and his that and his that, and then that leads to disloyalties and whatever he's doing. But man's just doing him basically. So no relationship is going to sustain that, and no sister is going to actually put up with it, right? And that's all that was. The split could have just been yet another thing that we all go through. But no, this one decides, and when I look at it now, he decided I need to bury her before she gets a chance to talk about this relationship. Not that I was even thinking about that at that time. I was just concerned with the fact that I met you with one child and you had one child, and now essentially I've been left with Tree Pickney on my own because we can't continue this relationship with your behavior. So whether I dump you or whatever, or you dump me, is irrelevant. The relationship I've done. You understand? Because you know men are going to be like, well, you're choosing whatever. No. The relationship done. And you've made it have to be that way. So I'm nursing all of that with a newborn baby in my hand, thinking, how the bloody hell did I get here? How did this happen? This is never what I pictured for myself. And this person made me believe that actually would never and could never happen. We're building the black family, babes. Yeah, I'm going to be an example. His words, not mine. And I'm going, yeah, babe. This is what we need to have strong black families. And I'm quoting my scholars and my teachers. And we're going to do this. We're going to prove them all wrong. Black relationships aren't failing because they started failing in our time. And now they're just failed and a mess. And so it started with us back then. So this is where I was at, guys. This is where I was at. Right on, Hotep, brother. Teach, brother man. Teach, black man. Anyone who's been around those sects will know that level. You know, you're cheering him on from the lines. And then he'd bring me up and he'd go, this is the jewel in my crown. But just like my mum, when she used to say, come dance for me and sing for me at the parties. And I used to think, ee, look at me. You know, I'm special. Look how much they love me. Weren't about me. I'm your dancing, singing, performing little dolly. It's about them with a narcissist. So in order to boost man's profile, you know, I was the jewel in his crown. But actually, no, I wasn't. At home, you were busy manipulating me. You were busy disturbing my early childhood trauma, which was sexual abuse at the hands of some dodgy Windrush uncles that I'd actually packaged and put away in my late teens and cracked on with life. And even in my early teens, the fact that I might lick you down because you pissed me off quite quickly, I didn't connect it to any of that. And I was just kind of getting on. I don't ever remember feeling like, you know, down. I never remember feeling that. I got on with it. But clearly there's stuff you suppress, right? So this young psych student decides to start experimenting on me in my sleep, in the bed. Huh? But I'm not aware of this stuff until a bit later. And I'm thinking, but hold on. That's a real violation. You can't do that. And now you've rocked that and then gaining more understanding from as I was studying and becoming. But this man unpacked my trauma without my consent while I slept, unearthed it, and then when it unleashed itself into the world, he was the first to turn around and tell me that I need help because I used to like to fight. I remember one time I was down the Roman. Big up all the East London people if you remember the Roman. In fact, everyone knew the Roman in London. I was down the Roman, which is like one of our local places, you know, in East London. Go down the Roman on a Saturday. Fish and chips are brilliant. And there's all the bargains with the latest design of clothes. So I'm down the Roman anyway. And I've taken my son out of the car. So at this point, I've only got 2 children. I don't have 4, I've got 2 at this point. And I'm young. I'm in my late 20s. I've taken my son out the car. I don't remember if I had my big daughter with me. I don't think I did. But I had the baby. And we're going down the Roman, isn't it? So you've got to park car. You can't have the car down the market. I've taken the baby out of the car and I've got his buggy out the car and I've put him in the buggy and I've gone into the market. And as I'm going into the market, there was this woman who was clearly an addict, but I didn't recognize all that at that time. I wasn't in the field. I didn't care. I didn't know about it. You're just very dirty, very rude. You're swearing. You're spitting at people. And as I've passed, your spit has hit my child. Huh? I don't remember what happened. And that was the problem when I was younger. So it would have to be a trigger like that, to that extreme, for me to trigger. And I did. And I battered that woman to the core in this place. And when I came around, I thought, why is she bleeding like that? Ain't she the woman that just spat on my feet? And then I realized I'd had an episode. But, you know, I used to be like that when I was younger, but that wasn't often. And then this man unpacks my trauma. And now I'm having it all the time, triggering all over the place with people and him when he took the piss. Crazy. So then he's telling me, you know, you need therapy. No, I don't need therapy. I'm from the hood in that regard. I'm from the community. Black people. What? Are you all mad? Well, I'm really having it. Because at that time, I hadn't even, when we go back that far, I had not really started training yet or anything. I was doing my own job. I worked in an investment bank and I did acting. When I was resting, I worked in an investment bank. When I did acting, I was doing acting and in plays and, you know, some small TV bits here and there, but mostly plays when you're a struggling young actor or actress. So that's what I was doing. And in between that, I was a Kelly girl. So I'd get to be a secretary in wherever. It's Christie's, Morgan Stanley. I've worked in all of those places as dealer secretary. So I was doing this kind of stuff and whatever. And this man's telling me I need therapy. Are you crazy? Are you mad? I wasn't accepting it in those very young days, my early to mid 20s, you know. So eventually I decide that it started with drama therapy, actually made sense. you know, and obviously as a black actress in those days, you ain't getting a whole heap of parts and being in regular work, and it wasn't working out with kids and whatever. So I got to find what I really want to do now, because my plan for my career and up to that point, what I had studied for from school through college and whatever weren't really going that way. So I switched, and it started with drama therapy, and then it became where I am now. So I was, you know, in a big transition, like most young people are at those ages, massive transition. And anyhows, I come in one day anyway. That's what I'm saying. I tell stories going back to front. But I come in one day in my mid-20s, probably because I've had my son. He's a baby. Yeah, it's probably mid-20s. And I got a scratch on me. And I remember Viv hugging me and looking at me, because I didn't even say anything about the fight. It was just normal. That kind of thing. I just kind of brushed myself off and thought, oh dear, it looks like I blacked out again. Do you know what I mean? Let me get the kids over to the car, or my son out to the car, so leave. So I did. And I got in and I didn't really say anything. And he's seen the state of me. I've been in a rocks. You know, I've got a scratch in my chest. But I don't know about that. It's probably where the woman was trying to kind of defend herself on the way down. I don't know, because I don't remember her hitting me. But I've got a scratch in my chest. And he can see what's happened, and he was used to that happening. He looked at me and he went, I've had something in my hand, maybe a shopping bag or something. He took it out of my hand. The baby was sleeping, where I'd taken him out of the car with the car chair and placed him down. And he looked me dead in my eye and he said, you are 25 or whatever age I was at that time. You cannot keep fighting, babes. That's what he said to me. And it hit me for some reason that day. It properly hit me. And I did go on to have a few more fights after that. Probably by the time my son was a toddler, I'd put that life down. Terrible. Mixtapes, you know that, innit? Roman Road, absolutely. I was a definite regular down the Roman, and my mum before me. So yeah, I mean, that was the kind of journey at that time, and I stopped fighting and I started training in the therapies and started understanding myself more and my trauma more and what made me want to fight people all the time and all of this type of stuff. So that's how my trauma expressed itself. It wasn't in problems with men or guys. It was with problems with men who wanted to violate and problems with people in general who wanted to violate, but mostly men. I'd be in the traffic. I remember that I had a sister who was kind of very much the same. And when we used to ride together, it was terror. Do you understand? But, you know, a woman cut you up in the traffic or spit it out the window or call you something, you say, shut up, you, and give it to her back. You know, with a man, I'm speeding ahead of you, handbrake turning my car, because I'm an excellent boy racer driver as well. Everyone knows me, knows that. Run with boys, tomboy, learn to drive through boys, on, you know, my friends when I'm younger. I would do you that and block your car and jump out my car with my steering wheel locked, mash out your windows, bust you up in the car and keep it moving as a girl. And I would get a buzz out of that when I was younger. I would, you know, but that's because you violated, and the violation was tapping into the original violation, which was from Uncle Mac. Remember him? And Alvin Latty, dirtiness, who incidentally also did it to my cousins in America, him. I later learned in adult life. So I was dealing with all of that, and it's almost like the way I had to protect myself, particularly with the one named Alvin, where I was a teenager at that point, 13, like baby Afua's age. As a young child, dirty pedo Uncle Mac. There was no fight, obviously. I probably didn't even know what was happening. But later, I defended myself in certain ways and, you know, tried to protect my chastity, which I was successful in that regard, in that very small regard, but the scars were there and he'd already done what he'd done. And I didn't trust anyone that came too close or was too aggressive. So I just come out swinging. And that expressed itself in very disruptive ways. So Viv was right. You can't keep fighting. It's a shopping trip. You're with your baby. You can't keep fighting by the road. And then the thing with that is I would come back in, you know, cook the most exquisite meal and play the what do you call it, the domestic goddess, and then come Monday morning, get off to my nice job in the city in the lovely bank. Do you know what I mean? Oh my God. I remember being even younger than that before I met Viv, actually. I was with my big daughter's dad, and I worked, I had a job as a receptionist in 20th Century Fox Film Company. It's a massive deal in them days, working in the West End with your little clothes and, you know, working in a posh office, this kind of stuff. And I'm 18 at this time, and there was this racist guy called Brian. He's probably dead now because he was old then. Brian, his name was, and he was from Leeds, and he was so racist. It was just ridiculous when I think back, the things we had to put up with, because no one could get away with that now in the workplace. You know, just all the jokes and whatever. And we used to just, whatever, Brian, me and my friend on the reception, he was the security guard. So we all worked together in this 20th Century Fox film company, you know. And Brian just went too far one day. And I'm from Gate. And I had enough of him. And I remember it was this Monarch switchboard. I don't know if anybody's that far back as in secretarial work to remember those Monarch switchboards. So I'm working this Monarch switchboard. Me and my friend were bantering and whatever. And I'm working the switchboard, and Brian's come up and he used to try and bully us because we were young, both of us. And he used to try and bully us and stuff. But we don't work for you, because we were both mouthy. I think the other girl was from Southeast London or something. And we were both mouthy. And so Brian used to get run. You know, you ain't the boss, Brian. Do you know what I mean? And he'd go like, I'm gonna report you too. That's how I used to go on, because we'd take longer lunch breaks, or, you know, our fag break was a bit too long or something. He'd always pick on us. But anyway, Brian took the piss one day and took the racial thing a little bit too far. So I've got the phone and I've smacked Brian with the phone. That was the first time. Brian actually held it down because he knew he was wrong. You see, the second time I done that at that job, it was because at the time there was a 20th Century Fox in Soho Square. The building, I think it's still there, but the building itself inside there also housed Walt Disney Film Company, two of them in the building. And they had a preview theatre under the building. So every week you would see people like Peter Ustinov and Barry Norman. Remember Barry Norman, guys, that used to review films of an evening on BBC Two or something? But they used to come down to that building to watch the movies and review them, and then he'd put it up on his Barry Norman thing. So we were dealing with all these, you know, quite famous people. Anyway, the director of Walt Disney at the time was a guy of Walt Disney UK, was a guy called Russell de Villiers. Never forget him. And he was quite a handsome guy, you know. He was from South Africa. And his wife was a battle axe. She wasn't, you just thought, why have you married your mum? She was older looking. I don't know if she was older, but she certainly looked older. She was really not very glamorous. And you just thought, why have you married your mum, Russell? And Russell was giving this bun like, whoa, this woman. He was cheating on this woman, something chronic. And he'd have all these little dolly babies that he was bringing into the office for long lunches and taking them out. It was obvious he was having affairs with these women. One of them was really beautiful, and I think she might have been like a Miss Scotland at the time or something crazy like that. But anyway, his missus clearly knew what time it was, and she was there for the money. I don't know why she was there. But one particular day, he had told us girls on reception, if my wife comes in, because she used to like to visit him, I think it was the 80s thing, you know, wives come and visit their husbands at the office. Does that still happen? I don't know. Certainly doesn't in the public sector. Yeah, so she used to come bring his lunch, maybe, I don't know. But she was always at the office visiting, always. Maybe because she knew, right? She knew that the women were coming, so she was always there. And he came one day, he said, if my wife comes in, tell her I'm in a meeting and I'm not to be disturbed. But we'd already seen Dolly Baby go up there with him. So we're thinking, okay, he's in a meeting, he's not too disturbed. She comes in, I'm here to see my husband, Russell de Villiers. And she'd always say it like that. But we know you. Well, you don't have to keep saying his name. We know who you are. And she would deal with us like that. And it was two black girls on this reception. She just was a horrible woman. So we would always cover Russell because he was nice to us. In a sense, I think he was really extra nice to us and used to give us little, what do you call it? What do they call it in them days? Bonuses in our weekly wage packet for nothing. But I think it was hush money, you know, or appreciation money, whichever way you want to see it. It was never inappropriate. It was never that. But he used to look after us, this Russell. And in those days, you got paid in cash every week in an envelope. So you find that sometimes it was buffered than others, you know, depending on man's activities. So she came in anyway. I want to see my husband. So we were like, I'm very sorry, Mrs. de Villiers, but Mr. de Villiers is not to be disturbed. He's in a meeting. As you do, that was my job. Receptionist. How I told you I want to see my husband. I said, I'm very sorry, Mrs. de Villiers. Repeating myself. This woman looked me square in my eye. Imagine this though. I'm 18. It's the 1980s. Every time you turn on the TV, it isn't Hezbollah and this one and that one and the Arab Spring and the Islamic terrorists and Palestine. It's none of that. It is Winnie Mandela shouting "Amala" into the flaming screen, and the big thing is raging in South Africa with the apartheid freedom fighters. So the only reference point I have to this white South African accent is that. It wasn't after Mandela. It wasn't when a lot of expat South Africans came in through their grandfathers being English and whatever and settled here. Wasn't that? Yeah? The only reference point I had of a South African accent was them time there. And so being from my household where our parents would be screaming at the TV, mash them up with it. Them out harder. Look at them treat with people. I'm triggered because this woman has just looked in my face when I've told her twice she can't go up to see her husband at the moment. And I'm not phoning him to tell him you're here, so please take a seat. When I've told her that twice, she's looked at me and she said, imagine this. Even today, it gives me the chills. I want to find back this woman. She's looked me dead in the eye, people, and she said, how dare you speak to me like that? Try to do the accent now. How dare you? Where I come from, you would be my house girl. That's what the woman said to me. Where I come from, I would be her house girl. I had the phone in my hand because I just finished with a call when I was dealing with her. And I don't even know what, one of the blackouts came. And I clapped this woman in her mouth with the receiver of the phone. And suffice to say that I didn't work for 20th Century Fox stroke Walt Disney anymore. UK. So that's the temperament, people. That's the temperament I was coming out of and trying to balance that with knowledge and knowing better now. And slow that came out of me. And I stopped dealing with people like that in my late 20s. Well, my early 30s, really. I was in my early 30s when I stopped dealing with people. But, you know, it's kind of gradual, isn't it? So that's an extreme example of when I was 18. And prior to that, I mean, I'm a sweet little thing and I'm so polite. And everyone talks about how polite I am and how well-behaved I am and whatever in the workplace. But don't do that, especially racism, where my parents taught us, groomed us to defend it, you know? So that's what happened. And going forward, I then bring all of that into my relationship with this brother. Thanks, Jad. She asked for it, didn't she? About where I come from, you would be my house girl. Is she crazy? I might even do that now, to be fair. I've come full circle on myself, I tell you that. Really, in my old age, I'm turning into my mum more and more. I'm not having that. So, Sweet Fantasy says, Lord, that was me in my 20s speeding after man who cut me up on the road, right? This is how we grow. So, anywho's, fast forward, I got to cut out big chunks because otherwise we'd be here for like days. I can't to read your book, sis. I can't to read your book, but I can. I don't know what BN is saying. But anyway, so I get into this thing and I'm now with a narcissist who's expressing similar kind of controlling and coercive ways in the way that my mum used to try to control me and coerce me and label me after my disclosure. When I stepped out of her sunshine and into her shade. When she decided she wanted to vilify and demonize me so that my truth about what happened would not stain her and would not go public. And Viv did exactly the same in our breakup. Exactly the same. When I look at it back now and I analyze the same tactics, the same tricks, the same lies, the same disparagement, if that's a word, the same demonization. So when these people, these Claire Kennedys and whatever are doing what they're doing, I'm like, psh, 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 used to it. And those experiences, it makes you always step in truth. Nobody don't like it. You ain't going to be popular for it. You'll go it'll start from inside your family where you are vilified and not liked because of the truth. But for me, it did not deter me from the truth. So when I stand here, I don't need to tell lie, because actually I don't like to tell lie. No, you understand me? Too much of that. This is why I say in the prologue, a deep-seated family history. I can't remember the words properly off by heart, but a deep-seated family history, just peppered with untruths and intrigues and lies and subterfuge. And I came out of that. You couldn't even, you see, my family, they're the kind of people, my immediate family, I have to keep saying that. Certain people in my immediate mother, sister, brother family, because my family is huge on both sides and I'm close to them. So I'm not talking about all of my family. I'm talking about these individuals in my family. But, my mum was a true matriarch. She really, really was. And so therefore she heads up a lot and she has power in that little unit. So it affected me. Being demonized all the time. I'd walk into family events and I've got long lost cousins I ain't seen forever. I don't even remember you really. And you say, Denise, oh my God, you behave yourself now. What? Who are these people? What have I done? Do you know what I mean? It was that kind of thing. That kind of thing. How do you survive that? That is castigation. How do you survive that? Constantly not being believed about absolutely everything because your mother has branded you a liar because she does not want the truth coming out. All of it is familiar of what goes on in the His Time Is Up campaign. A liar is truth, people. All of it is familiar. It's what I'm coming out of. And the same attacks, the same level of madness goes on. So let me just give you a little insight. As I said, I'm not going to show it to you guys because it does concern our children's name. So I'm going to give you a snippet from 2015, 15th of April 2015 at 15:46. It was a time when I had drawn in a couple of our mutual friends to mediate because this man was going around saying one thing and doing another. Yeah? Saying one thing, doing another. And so therefore I'd called people into it because what he would do is just me and him. There are no witnesses, classic abuse, no witnesses. So he can get to just run riot up in my day, up in my head, up in my everything with his rubbish, with his lies, with his nasty words towards me, telling people this is what I am and what I do. You understand me? He could get to just do all of that with impunity because he'd never do it in front of people. Just to me. But thankfully, he likes to do it in emails. Do you understand? And this was a time when I had a lump in my breast. 2014, I had a lump in my breast. Now, I did not get that tested for cancer because my son told me not to. Why? Because we come from the loins of Dr. Sebi and them people there. We don't put ourselves in these people's hands for healing. You're crazy. But I was so scared that I had a hospital appointment where they were going to do a biopsy, pump that blue dye into you and stuff. And it was my boy, my little soldier who was at the hospital with me. He's a teenager at this point, and he's wanting to come to the hospital with me on the appointment and hold my hand. So I allowed him to. And we're in this room and whatever, and the man's gone to wash up and get this thing ready. And he looks at me because then I'm just kind of, holding it and trying to be brave and, at that time, because I was worried. And I obviously, you see the fear these people can put on you sometimes. It takes you outside of yourself. So the ancestors put my son next to me, and he looked at me and he went, Mummy, are you really going to do this? And I went, do what? Because I must have been, I don't know what knocked me out, but I was temporarily asleep in that moment through fear. And my son said to me, are you going to make them pump the blue dye into you, Mum? He went, and I looked at him and I went, but I need to find out. And he went, no, Mum. the blue dye, Mum, because he's grown up hearing about what these people do. You know, we know about the Tuskegee experiment. That's documented. What about the things that ain't? And we know these people will do certain things and give you a diagnosis that not Nagosa, but whatever they're doing and giving you next in these tests and then whatever treatment, that's what's going to give you this stuff. We heal ourselves through our food. We heal ourselves through the blueprint that Dr. said we put down. You know, that's what I'm about. And my son reminded me. And you know, I pick up my bag of walk same time and I book my flight to Jamaica where I can get access to the herbs. And my auntie can start it because she's a herbalist. Straight. I told this man what was going on, right? We'd always had an understanding, no, but I'd never troubled him. This man was in and out of the country like, whoa. And this is not a man that's going to tell you he's going away. You're just going to see it in an email. I am in Uganda at the moment. I am in Gambia at the moment. Oh, really? So what happened to our son's karate lesson this week? That not happened again. What happened to this? What happened to that? Never told you anything. But I never sweated him for it. Make your dad do his thing. He'll be back and he pays for his kids and takes them when he's supposed to. And I'm not going to stop a man's progress. So I never, ever troubled him. So I go and do it now. And I'm being branded somebody that has abandoned my children. And what this baby father tried to do it as well. I don't understand these men. It's okay for you to do it. Go away on business, holiday with the lads. But the minute we do it, we're abandoning our children. Are you all right? They're with their father. If we were still living in the same house, married, whatever, you would be the one left behind while the other one goes away. What happened to Uno? So this is what happened, innit? And I've left them with him. So he's turned the whole narrative about it, about this situation. So I'm going to kind of read a little bit of an excerpt. It will give you the level. You will hear my retort to him. And this is late in the day with me and him. This is 2014. Baby Afua was 4. I'm technically, I think at that time I might have fallen out with what this baby father. Remember, we broke up 100 million zillion times a day before I left him for good. So I think in that space here in 2014, in this little moment, I think I'm not with him at that stage. I'm probably thinking, do you know what? You, Mr. Amona, and you, what this baby father, you lot caused this breast thing because you both stressed me out. Do you know what I mean? It would have been that. And I need to heal. So I've done that and I've gone booked for 7 weeks, told both of them. It was actually with Viv, he accepted it and took the children, but still berated me through emails while I was away. With what this baby father, he was saying the same thing and didn't accept it. So my daughter got dropped with him against his will. And that was that, because nobody ain't going to kill me off. Here I stand today when you've abandoned her and I'm still here. Had I not taken those steps, I may well not be here. They would have probably dosed me up with chemo and I'm gone. As it turned out, I will never know if that lump was benign or malignant because I didn't stop to find out. I just knew I had a lump. And that's not really working for me. By the time I came back after 7 weeks of being through homeopathic alkaline therapy in Jamaica, that lump was gone. And my medical records will bear witness because the doctors were like, oh, ew. Well, I'm not sure what's happened here, but it seems to have diminished, seems to have receded. So that's what I did. I took my healing. Hello. Anyway, this was the man's response to me taking my healing. Chatting rubbish. So he says, hold on. I think I had sent him an email telling him to leave me alone and stop upsetting me while I'm trying to heal and take care of his responsibilities and whatever. And I'd called it 4,000 miles away, still not far enough. So hear this one. My quick and dirty response now that I have gotten on top of stuff. Like all abusive, dysfunctional parents, you manipulate and abuse your children into supporting your actions. The fact that you cannot see anything wrong with what you have done. What I've done is go away for healing and continue to do speaks volumes. But don't worry, you have been abandoning your children without notice for years. They are used to it. Speaking for them, and none of them have told him this, they feel abandoned. I have picked up the pieces as I've been doing. I think he was writing this, you know, in front of someone because it's just mental. I have picked up the pieces as I have done I have been doing for years in order to get our daughter's education back on track. It has been a blessing because without you around demanding attention from the children and anyone who will listen to you or is browbeaten into compliance just to keep the peace. I don't know who these people are. I have been able to get to grips with her and with the truth about what is going on with her school. All of this is fabrication, people. The school never even hear about him at this point. We know you can take mass murder and make it look like the people are merely sleeping. You are able to spin and repackage disaster and keep dysfunction as a legend. What the hell does that even mean? And he is the Dandada spin doctor of all time. But it just goes on and on and on and on. And it's the type of nastiness. I'm going to share more of these when I've got time to screenshot them, put them up, put them together, because it takes forever to screenshot each little bit. And they're extremely, extremely long. It just goes on. It goes into a lot of stupid detail that isn't even real. If you really think that this sudden departure has not and does not impact on your children, you are more ill than I thought. As I said, I have nothing to say to you, so please do not speak to me about our children whilst you are away. We are doing better now that you have gone. I'm sure the madness will resume when you return. It always does. Nah. You see the way they like to flip it on you when they are the people that are guilty of these behaviors. Madness. Always try to try and seek peace with the brother. Just berating me because that's the only power you've got left. I'm no longer in the relationship. You can't control me. You can't coerce me. You can't make me do your will, you know. And he wasn't that sort of guy that would demand that I don't go out or have friends or male friends. I was free to do what I liked. Viv ain't on that. But he wants you to achieve what he wants you to achieve. It's that kind of thing, you know. And he wants to be in the driving seat. He wants to be more adored than you in terms of your children. Crazy. You know, he wants them to love him more than you. Crazy. You know? So it goes on and on and on. There's some personal bits, you know, that I'm not going to share this about my youths. So it ends by saying, only an ill parent would handle her children the way you do and have done for years, abandoning your child at short notice for so long at a crucial point in her development on the back of of similar actions that last time resulted in a lengthy jail sentence. This is what he used to use to kick me, is just sick. And don't think I'm fooled by the Skype calls. It is just your way of keeping control of the child in the way your mother did to you. Now, this is what they do. If this man ever tries, or anybody tries to say I'm lying about this, I will screenshot every one of them and block out my children's names in certain parts and show you, like I did with the other emails. So don't try it, you people out there. Numbers are climbing, always does, when you start to mention the dirty bungo them. So that's the kind of stuff that he used to fling at me. And I'm away healing, you know. I'm away healing. So here's my response to this guy. 1 second, guys. Where's it gone? Where's it gone? Right, so he just goes on and on and on, and there's some really nasty bits here as well. Yeah, I will show these. What a nasty piece of work. None of it is true. It's just all designed to make me feel like crap. So here's me now. This was on, what date was it? 15th of April. And I respond back to him about 2 o'clock in the morning, English time. I spoke to you quite politely from Jamaica while Skyping our daughter on Sunday. I see nothing wrong in suggesting to you that our son come over here to balance his head and get away from his baby mother. This was the time when my son was going through foolishness with his baby mother. I see nothing wrong with that. That aside for now, was it really necessary? Hold on. I appreciate that you have set a decent program for him. This is when I was fooled by his lies because he didn't set a decent program. I appreciate that you have set a decent program for him. We had a relatively positive conversation about it before I left. But if he is not complying, then surely you need to go back to the drawing board. That aside for now, was it really necessary in light of my simple question to handle me with such contempt and disrespect? Live over the Skype in front of my daughter and your entire household. What is my crime? Going away for 7 weeks, not 3 months as you keep stating, 7 weeks without consulting you? You, who is one of the reasons I hot-footed it out of the country in the first place. This is the type of behavior you said you would refrain from in front of our children, by the way, and our children, my daughter was deeply embarrassed by it. I desperately wanted to take her with me, but that would have been detrimental to her mock exams, so you have been left to manage her for a mere 7 weeks. So what? Deal with it. Why are you tripping? I thought you were daddy extraordinaire. You step in and out of not only the city, but also the country on a regular basis. Do you even inform me? No. Do you inform the children? No. I usually only hear about it once you've told the children, after your departure. You don't tell me when or where you are going or when you return. I'm sick of your control, demonizing, and your double standards. You people have done nothing but nyam me down to the bone for the last 4 years since I came out, with your bag of pressure, stress, and out emotional psychological warfare. What did you think I would just sit down in it year in, year out and look about my own, and wouldn't look about my own well-being? You're bright. Like close family member said the night before I left, like our daughter said the night before I left, as I sat agonizing over not being able to take her with me, you have earned this holiday, mummy. Please take it and come back happier and healthier. I don't need your sanctioning, bruv. My children are who I am. My children are who I am, here to please and appease. Don't be so bad mind. Stop hating and concentrate on your May maintenance payment. I'm a reasonable woman, so I won't be looking for March or April's payment. No doubt I will have to wait another year again to receive another penny of support from you. Such has been your pattern. Just leave me alone, Viv. I have not troubled you. Also, apologize to our children for your behavior. They really do not like that one. And that's my response to the man. Yeah? Got loads of them. Loads of them. And they go deep. They go deep. Can you see what happened there? I've gone away for healing. This man is narrative, and this is what he's telling people at a road and in his field and wherever, telling his public, this is what I am. This is what I do. You understand, people? This is what he's telling people. So what I'm going to share with you guys now, all right? I received this in 2021 about Viv, when I first ever mentioned my story with him. I'm just giving you a tiny little snapshot right now into the dynamic. And this is all post our breakup, this stuff that he does. It goes way deeper than what I've just read to you guys. I will find the time. As I say, they're very long emails between the both of us, and it takes time to redact and screenshot and whatever, because loads of them. So I will do that so you can see it for yourself. But this was the dynamic. This is what it was between us. So imagine when I tell that story in 2021 from Tanzania, and I didn't fully tell the story. I just mentioned the fact that I'm a survivor of this and that and that. And then I get bombarded with different correspondence from different women, the usual stuff about him and his controlling ways. And I got a particular email that was very detailed and very lengthy and rang so true, because a lot of what she describes in terms of behavior, especially his obsession with women that have been abused, sexually abused. He's obsessed with that, loves talking about it, loves talking about the healing side of it, and just goes into it all the time. Seems to be fascinated. Always seems to end up with a partner that's been through that, actually. A lot of what she was saying rang true, and there are certain details, some of it I've had to take out, and I'm not going to be able to show all of it because I'm going to read it. I'm going to show the first part and some of it, and I'll also be reading from it because I can't show all of it here, you know. But it was from a sister who knows him extremely, extremely, extremely well and had introduced her friend to him. And that friend and him had ended up in a relationship. This is years after me and him. We don't even know who named him at that point. You know, when this is supposed to have happened. Remember, I'm in Tanzania. I'm doing His Time Is Up. Even what this baby father, when I get this, it's in the height of the His Time Is Up campaign. And she's telling me what she's telling me. She wants me to share the email. Yeah. Now, at that time, what I'd asked the sister for was direct contact with the victim herself, who was highly traumatized. I mean, to the point of nervous breakdown. So the woman wasn't well. And sister was explaining to me that she's not well enough to talk to you. Please share it. And I said, sis, when she's well enough, come to me. I've not heard from that sister since then. And I never shared it because I need to be sure of what I'm being told is right, even though I know in my heart that what this woman is saying is true. And recently, I had it corroborated because somebody extremely close to him, who is mutual to us, I shared it with them. And they confirmed, I know that person. Yes, that person is around him. I was like, raw. That's even more confirmation that this woman is not lying. Do you understand? And also some other little things he was saying within that she describes. That person also confirmed that, yes, that's the type of language that he always uses in those situations. So why, Viv? Why? And the things that she's speaking about in this email to me, I don't recognize that guy, people. I do not recognize that guy. He was bad in my time, yes. But this is 20 odd years later. Me no know him. He seems to have progressed into this real monster. I was there for the beginnings of that, it seems. I thought that was it. You know, I just thought you're a dickhead. But, you know, you're horrible. But I never knew that it would pathologize into this. I really, really didn't. And so what I read shocked me to the core. To the core. Because there's still a side of me that has that admiration for Viv. I cannot take his stripes away from him. As a black man in this country, the levels and what he's brought and the things he's done, the things that he's innovated. But then, you know, I've got to start maybe really reviewing that mindset, because all the things that I'm getting in with Viv is like, did you really innovate them, or did you just nick them off other people, actually, Viv? And when I think back as well to being a young woman around you with my level of creativity, and there were loads, there were not loads, but in fact there were loads, because most of the young people that you put around you, we were all slightly younger than you. We were all talented people. So some of this rings true, and that's what you were doing to us. The difference with the others in our group, Back to Black, is that they weren't in a relationship with you. Once they went, they went. And we never see them again. And you went with their intellectual property or their money. In later times, it became money, but it was usually their intellectual property. Huh? My intellectual property, even. The days of youth awareness program and these things that I joined under him as his missus. Crazy. But when I read this to you guys, it's so disturbing. It's so disturbing. And my hope is actually that other women are going to feel emboldened to come forward. You'll see what the sister has to say. It is not easy reading. It's highly embarrassing for me as well. You know, that is the father of my children. And this is how man is going on behind closed doors with his status and his promises to our community. I can't sit quietly. No, sirree, I'm not. And I said to you guys when I was reading the emails about my grandchildren and, you know, the false narrative and lies that he put out there about that I'm not taking that no more. I'm not doing that anymore. So I was reviewing this. In fact, I just came across it. I was looking for something else for one of these things that I just read to you, you know, like that. I was looking for something like that because I'd totally forgotten about it, to be fair, in everything else that's gone on. I was looking for that and that popped up. And I went back and read it and I thought, kiss my neck. So I shared it with this person that I was just telling you about, who knows him very, 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 very well, but we're mutual. You know, we mutually know them. I shared it with that person and they said to me, you've got to share that. And I say, like, why aren't you sharing it? Is it because it's him and your grandkids and all that? And I was like, no. And they also said to me, well, you didn't ramp to share when Watley's baby father's niece came to you about that trauma and what was going on in that family. Why haven't you shared this? It's been there since 2021. And I told them my reasons. They went, but you haven't chased it? I thought, no, I haven't. And I had to ask myself that question, why haven't I? Why haven't I chased that person and said, is sister better now? And, like I would if I was normally investigating something, check in and see if anything's changed. So that person said, well, if you don't, Afua, you're a hypocrite. And that person's opinion is highly valued by both of us. Huh? Imagine. So here I am about to share it because they're right. They are right. They are 100% right. I need to share it. You cannot have favorites. You cannot. And it isn't about that for me, but it could be perceived of that. And there is an aspect of that somewhere, whether I mean it or not. I cannot sit here disingenuously holding on to information that's been sent to me by sisters. But I did need the direct contact because that's the way I work. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's the way I work. I need that corroboration. I need you to be able to tell me that directly. But this has been super corroborated, what this second party told me, who's very close to the victim. But anyway, guys, tell me what you think. Let me just share a little bit of it, a little bit. So, I mean, a little bit visually for you guys, so you can see where the source is actually coming from. So long. I couldn't get all of it in, man. Right, where is it? So basically, I've scrubbed out sister's name on this one, but you can see this is a message that was sent to me in 13th of the 8th, 13th of August, 2021. And she's entitled it, Mr. Viv Amun, right? Hi, Afua, my name is, I have sat down with my best friend who suffered psychological abuse. Hold on one minute, guys. Who suffered psychological abuse at the hands of Viv Amun. She nearly had a mental breakdown when the stress became too much to bear. She has given me the permission to send you, there's a lot of typos in this, the permission to send you this email on her behalf. It's been an extremely difficult time for us all, especially now his story of historic abuse has been aired on social media. Thank you for telling your own personal story on a public platform, which would have been a weighty decision for your own story. And I'll go on to the rest of it. Hold on. It was a weighty decision to tell my story, especially about a man like Viv Amun. Powerful men have connections, man. And they can sink you quick. It ain't Watley's baby father. He's just Watley's baby father. It don't matter about him. He hasn't got any power. But when you tell the truth about powerful men, we all know, we've all seen what happens, you know? Okay, so she continues. I'll start again. Hi, my name is Jennifer. I sat down with my best friend who suffered psychological abuse at the hands of Viv Amun. She nearly had a mental breakdown when the stress became too much to bear. She has given me permission to send you this email on her behalf. It's been an extremely difficult time for us all, especially now his story of historical abuse has been aired on social media. Thank you for telling your own personal story on a public platform, which would have been a weighty decision. Your own story of systematic abuse. Your story has organically opened the door for his other victims to come forward or validate that they actually have been abused. Hopefully this will lead to criminal proceedings finally. When you expose abuse, it loses its power over you. Viv's abuse seems to enforce silence surrounding the Black community and his close associates, which not only harms communities, but it's an additional abuse of the victims when victims are pressured to stay silent. We are traumatizing them and adding to their shame and pain. 1 second, let me just scroll up. This is frozen. 1 second, guys. and adding to their shame and pain. Just to kind of give you context, yeah, I believe all allegations, you'll hear, these are some of the things I have screenshotted. I'm going to read it from the actual email, and I can't show it because it's got certain things I've redacted, but you can see that you'll hear me say that in a minute. I just want you guys to see that it is a genuine email that I'm reading from. Yeah, give me a moment with that. Where was I? Wow. Viv's abuse seems to enforce silence surrounding the Black community, yada yada, traumatizing them and adding to their shame and pain. The community, so she's got headings. Yeah, so we start with this heading, the community. In the Black community, some people have experienced his shady business tactics and funding fraud. Some turn a blind eye, e.g., and she names them, and I'm going to call them because she names them. The community. In the Black community, some people have experienced his shady business tactics and funding fraud. Some turn a blind eye, e.g., Courtney Brown, Patricia L., as they have benefited financially. And I actually know those people. As they have benefited financially. Only if there is a criminal investigation, you will see how they will start to throw one another under the bus, so to speak. Him and his associates have done nothing but breed toxicity and deception in our communities. Wow. Business networks, next heading. Viv Amun always paints a picture of himself, always takes pictures of himself with high-profile people. He then uses manipulation to gain access to potential victims. He wants to use some of it is, the typos are bad, so I've struggled to read it sometimes. He wants to use your documents, I think that says, but he wants to use your links, I think she's trying to say, but he doesn't want you at the table, always seeking to divide you from resources that he can then leverage for himself. That definitely rings true. Some victims will keep contact afterwards as they see good relations with him. With such a powerful player is a must for their profile or business career. Black Socks is a social action network. Claims not a business. They claim not to be a business entity. Smart there. No liability for him when financial abuse is then recorded. The people, their business brands and organizations will be in the middle of the scandal, not him. And I know that's true because it happened with that whole Lee Jasper scandal down at City Hall back in the day, and that's exactly how he ran it. He sits on boards of institutions and young people projects to gain access to private info for his own benefit. Okay, an email of his abuse of my friend is to follow. He is currently in Africa, and in that period he was. So that definitely, I knew that person knew him at that point because I hadn't announced it, you know. So she goes on with another heading. Where's the next heading? Right. So she says, hi, Afua, continuing from my last email. The abuse. This is the next heading. My friend, Viv Amun met Viv Amun at an event Pat from Aspire and Black Socks invited her to. Shortly after the event, she started to go out for green tea. He called it business meetings. Verified that one. Green tea, buzzword for business meetings. She felt comfortable talking about her successful business journey and her network of business associates. He was really impressed and mentioned that he would love to be an ambassador for one of her charities. This woman, nah, tell no lie. After a short period, they entered into a relationship, which he told her it needed to remain secret due to his high-profile image. Is he having a laugh? As well as the fact people are envious of him and would try to destroy it. Red flag number one, sis. He spoke about all his ex's abuse. Listen to this part, people, because I think this man is very bright and out of order. I know I wasn't raped by my father, but anyway, listen to this. Wow. I've lost my bit. He spoke about all his ex's abuse, how some of them had been raped by their fathers and family members at times, going into graphic details of his sexual activities with them, especially his ex-wife. Oh my God. He mentions the two children. He mentions her with their two children and how crazy she is, and didn't speak to her. And he didn't speak to her. And he didn't speak to her. She still wanted him and couldn't get over him. You see these big guys, really? 2014. Well, actually, I don't know when he said this, but it was given to me in 2021, and it weren't that long between the event and when they sent it to me. The man, bright and lion out of order. It says here, Viv forced sexual acts, then camouflaged the acts. This is on her friend. Viv forced sexual acts, then camouflaged the acts as horseplay, then acted as though nothing happened, undermining her account. He manipulated to accomplish his own agenda, creating a power imbalance within their relationship. 100% true, that one. She suffered threats to expose. This is the bit that starts to get me now. She suffered threats to expose naked pictures of her, mostly done when she was asleep. Remember, I always told you guys that he loved to hypnotize me up in the sleep. Maybe if we had the level of technology and social media from them days, he would have been taking nude shots as well. But as it happens, he was hypnotizing me and drawing out my trauma for his own exploitation. Right. So it says he forced sexual acts on her, tried to manipulate and create a power imbalance within their relationship. She suffered threats to expose naked pictures of her, most done when she was asleep. At times she would wake up and he would be peering over her, just looking at her. She suffered money losses of thousands. After she stopped seeing him, he made sure no one would work with her. Definitely, no, that's true. He tried it with me. He made sure no one would work with her and told people she was unstable. Very familiar. She called Pat, thinking that would help. All she did was ignore her. She thought Pratt's friendship was real, but it was only to have access to her connections to build up Aspire, and that's his Saturday school. Oh my God. I can't say the other bit because it would identify this sister here if I say this bit here, so I'm not going to read that bit. But basically, this woman's children saw their mum go from a beautiful, confident woman to a nervous wreck, not wanting to leave her house. Something then happens, right? And it's very significant what happened. I cannot say it or read it because then again, that would identify this woman. But let's just say that Viv's name was in the middle of it. And an independent person who was apprehended, who would never, you would never think that person would know Viv, mentioned his name in this situation. So that was scary when I read that part. She goes on and she ends by saying, I believe with all the allegations against him, there is enough to build a case against him, but he has connections in high places, don't we know it? But if it was their child, sister, mother, and at some point son, brother, uncle, that have been subjugated to such cruel behavior from a man that claims he cares about the Black community, then maybe they would come forward. I pray that the circle of fear that him and his associates have created realize he's a dangerous predator who poses an ongoing risk to women and children. List of organizations who are aware of his sexual behavior with women, as some are directors and CEOs of these companies. Some are aware of the funding fraud, as some have benefited, and some may not have known. So she's given a list of organizations: Father to Father, CIC, Man Academy, Open Man Alliance, Janus, because I know that brother very well who runs that, and I want to know which category he falls into. Them who probably didn't know. That's another thing. Sister needs to clarify that bit. Who knew about the sexual behavior? Who actually out of this list knew about the funding frauds? And who may not have known, is I think what she's saying. But who knew about the funding fraud have benefited financially, so they say nothing. And who knows about the sexual behavior with women Some of those women are directors of companies and haven't spoken out. I think that's what she's trying to say. But it's Father to Father CIC that she says, Man Academy, Open Man Alliance. Let me see if I can. Oh no, I think the screenshot at the bottom. I'm going to see if I can show you guys this bit. I'll find it in a minute, but I'm reading it for now. Father to Father CIC, Man Academy, Open Man Alliance, Janus, Blam CIC, Black Men for Change Group, Found Divine CIC, Transform, Erasmus Plus, Hackney CVS, know them well, and I know if it's any one of these that I can pick out as being dirty and corrupt with his fingerprints to a nonce, please, because I don't know that man. Me would have never said that about him, and that email is a lot less verified, I would say, but there was still so much truth in it as well that pins into what this woman is saying and what I know of this man. So I don't know about that one, and that person never ever, all the things I asked them for in terms of verification, I don't know if they got cold feet or if they were gassing in the first place. So again, I did not run it, and as I said, that part is alleged, and I struggle with that bit. Him and a 15-year-old, I definitely struggle with that bit. I don't know about that. And no one has come forward to prove that or to show me any kind of anything. Just an email, an email from that woman at the time. There's two different women, I think. I know it was. So I'm disturbed by that. And I'm going to be digging on it as well. And I'm saying, if you have been harmed by Viv in that way, like most abusers, they hype their power. They hype their power way past where it should be. Do not be afraid of these people. Just like any abuser, Vincent Wright, any of them, please, my sisters, come forward. Come forward. We cannot allow brothers to do this in our community. It needs to stop. So that's just a little snippet, guys. I did not think that would take 2.5 hours. I need to go to my bed, and I didn't get back over. I text my neighbour, but I'm going to have to see her in the morning. Funding fraud was very rife in the 80s, but this is not the 80s, sis. This is now, Angor. This is now. And it was throughout the 2000s, throughout the 90s. When I've been close to him, it's always been about that with him. So I know that's true. I know that is true. He's got that whole area sewed up to the point that if you and I as a black organization needs funding, he's the gatekeeper. We have to go through him. Even if we don't know we're going through him, because there's layers. There's layers. Enough people don't know it's him, them I got you to get this funding. I have to laugh. I really do. I really do. This is the man that wants to vilify me and tell me about, oh, you want control like your mother did with you. How dare you? How dare you try and fling my trauma back in my face? I do not control my children in that way. You're a liar. And you don't see them jumping up and down. If this was all true, listen to the levels that he was accusing me of. You think my kids would be in my corner? They would be all over him, and they're not. So much layers to it, sis. Sisters, I'm trying to really manage that right now, because these people it's not just Claire Kennedy and these people that are trying to chip at me right now, people. It's these people as well that I speak of from my life. The Carols and the Vivs try to chip at my thing, chip at me. But you're not going to get the responses you used to get. I'm not going to fight you, especially my sister. But when she used to run her mouth and say the most nasty things and want to come up in your face and but straight at ground, can't defend herself, and I'm 5 years younger. I'm not doing that. Why? That's what you're trying to draw out of me so you can get to justify your narrative. And this is what racist white people do to us. Look at them, how they behave, and then they fling things on us and they wind us up and then we lick them down and there we are, we're violent. Same stuff, guys. Look into it. Every time, what do we see on this page when somebody shares their story? I'm going to put the link out, what it's worth. Someone shares their story, straight into the demonization mode, straight into vilifying them. Narcissists, perpetrators, these people that do harm and flip the script on the victims. I'm sick of Uno. I really, really am. So I've suffered that, not just in the public space, but in my life. Nothing he says is true in these emails. Everything I say is true. And I'm standing up to him. I can show you I'm going to find a way to do it on screen. I know there is a way. But I can show you the thread, because he doesn't respond to me. When I get back to him and say, oh, shut up, you narcissist, you this, he doesn't really come back to me. I don't want to speak to you. No, you can't. Because you know what I'm saying is true, and you realize that you're not going to get to bully me in this moment. So that's just part of my story, people. As I say, the book is coming soon. The link is there. I ain't giving you guys long to make a decision today. I need to get to bed. Honestly, I'm knackered. I am knackered. Nice live tonight. So quiet lately. It's going to get stickier again next week. Trust me, because it's going to be a big story, guys. Big story coming out of Ladbroke Grove next week. It's actually really heartbreaking. And this story I'm talking about, forget Viv. I'm just putting back my footprint and stamping on some of these lies that these people want to tell about me. And I know Mr. Spin Doctor, he has this way, as they do, this is what the professionals do. You don't have to see them. You will never see them, actually. But they have a way of making sure that their narrative gets out into the public space. And this is what Viv does to me. He saw the woman say that he tried to bring the other sister down by making sure nobody would work with her, telling people she was unstable. This is classic, really. It's not even original. But it's exactly what he did to me. Exactly, to the letter. When me and him split up. Exactly what he did. And for a little while, I took it. Then I took back my power. Start bust up the place out there again. Do you know what I mean? And it just went to newer heights with me after that. And him. And he couldn't take it. You know, I was hightailing it at that point. You know, in taking back my power. Who are you? Sorry. That kind of thing. My brothers and sisters, I'm going to bid you farewell and good night and a wonderful bank holiday weekend. I've got the tribe coming over for the bank holiday Sunday. And so, you know, that just means a hell of a lot of culinary activities when the tribe come over, because they need feeding, don't they? I'm going to be cooking a storm on Sunday. I'm busy as usual. Tomorrow I have early appointments, which I'm now going to be knackered for again, because I went out to see Major Hype last night. And I think next week I'm going to talk about that, because I didn't really know the full. I was in Tanzania when the story of Major Hype broke out about his girl, his wife, or some say fiance, some say wife, I don't know which, but his longtime partner, and that he'd beaten her up. I was in Tanzania, and I think it flew over when it happened, rather. And then I think after that, when I came back, it wouldn't have been in Tanzania. It must have been relatively recently, because I've only been back, 4 years? No, 3 years. So it must have been relatively recently. It flew over my head that there was this story out there. And I think I started to watch one video. It wasn't the original video. And I just thought, and then the other thing is as well, there is a lack of corroboration with the story, because unless I'm wrong, I don't remember, and I couldn't see. I went back today now because I saw a comment on my page saying, ew, why is it because he's famous and he's a woman beater that you're out there letting him promote you and da-da-da-da-da? Because I was at the Major Hype show last night out of town, up near my ends. And it was wicked. And we hung out. So, yeah. So, you know, some of you might have seen on my Instagram page that he's put out a little shout out to the page. So, as usual, they're on there. Oh, look at you, Afua, da-da-da. And I'm thinking, was it even that deep? Let me go back and look on this something. So I had a little bit of time to be able to do that before my neighbour called me, actually. There's some very interesting points that I need to make about that, because I need to watch more and I need to explore that more. I wasn't that corpus mentis about that. Apparently it was all over the internet, but I don't think it was. I don't remember it being viral, not around me anyway. And it was lockdown, so nothing was normal. You know, some people go, no, but he disappeared for a while, but did he? I can't remember when I started following him. I started following him around the same time I was in Tanzania, because that's when I started using Instagram, actually. I just used to watch his YouTube videos before that and thought he was really funny. So I probably missed it somewhere. There was a gap there in between when I started following him, it happening, lockdown, me being in Tanzania. I don't think I was fully corpus mentis about whatever he'd done, you know? So now I'm catching up with it, and I'll tell you guys what I think, because if it does go down like that and I realise that it's that, we'll have to denounce, brother, isn't it? And I'll be taking down that thing off my page, to be fair. So that's that in relation to anybody that wants to say anything or anyone that had questions on the Instagram page. But until then, He's staying up. And until then, I think he's hilarious and I love him as a comedian, and especially one of our homegrown comedians, which is lovely, because the good ones are usually from America, aren't they? Like, well, he kind of is though, isn't he? For real. He's Caribbean American. So I'm still not convinced about where he's from though, because I asked him last night, where are you really from? And he said Jamaica. Actually, he didn't actually say Jamaica. A couple of my friends that I was with two sisters, and before he answered, when I asked him, one of my sisters said, he's Jamaican, sis. And I went, he ain't Jamaican. But I said that because I'd read that he was Guyanese or something, but he doesn't really tell people and he keeps it under wraps because he wants people guessing. Because he's so pitch perfect at all the Caribbean accents, you can't really tell which one is his background, right? But he's clearly brought up in America or lived there for a very long time. I don't know which one. And he's got an American accent, really. But when he's not doing an American accent in real life, he's doing a Yardman accent. So is he Jamaican? But anyway, we had a banter about that because I said he's not Jamaican. And I think he was on his live. I'm going to look for it. Because he was on his phone. I didn't know if he was talking to someone or on the live when I said it. Yeah, because he had his phone up. But I thought he was just chatting to someone momentarily, you know, because he came away from the live, was chatting to us. But then he goes back to his phone and he says, this young woman here said, I'm not a yard man, I'm not Jamaican or whatever. I want to know if I she their labor word or something like that. When we're born, so I said, what, you never know, say I cut your neighbor string, and we had a laugh and whatever. But I don't know what he is. Somebody just asked me in the comments. I don't know what he is. He went to prison for it? Really? But it was hush hush. I need this information now. A lie. They said he disappeared because he was depressed. He came on social media. I've seen so much conjecture. He's not Jamaican or anything. I don't believe he is though. I just something about it just said, even though the accent's perfect, even the little nuances of the accents though, you know, the little phrases and things that your mum and dad might say that you only really would know that if you're there in the house, all of that particular island. But I think it's growing up in Brooklyn, isn't it? And I know Brooklyn. I got family there. I've been there. Do you know what I mean? The melting pot that is, it's kind of even deeper than England's melting pot in that regard, because you've got South Americans, you've got Haitians, you've got all of the Caribbean are there, but everybody's really living as a tight community. So as a young Caribbean parentage boy growing up in Brooklyn, he would have been in and out of his friends' houses. So, you know, I can imagine it would be like the Bayesian brother and, you know, they're similar to us over here in London. So he was very good at accents, clearly, and just picked up maybe growing up from these people's parents, including his own. So I think, and that's a great skill. I mean, what a master he is at it as well. So until I research this thing and really get into it and look at the sister's full testimony, because I've never seen it. I saw a different, like a response video a bit further down. And I only saw about 2 minutes of that before something else happened, and I never revisited it. So I didn't get ahead of the story. Oh, really? Oh, there is a Bayesian blogger called Babsy. She has some info that you may be interested in. He also sent out his ex's nudes and sex videos, which he denied, right? Because I went on today to see what he'd said about this. I Googled it and it came up with YouTube and stuff. Oh, let me see this, Malia. Like I said, I will cut its ass. Like, I'm not playing. I'm not that person that, oh, he's famous and I like him. I liked R. Kelly. Loved those songs before I found out. He's deleted me. I don't care. Like, do you know what I mean? I've just talked about my own children's dad. Like, no, I'm not. I don't play that game. I don't care who you are. So I'm going to go into that. And if I really, I'm going to pre it. But I did see to myself today, hold on, where's all the other women? Because that's a key thing. And that's what we asked for. We got loads of random sisters that come to us begging and screaming and saying this man done them something. And we don't run the story. Why? Because where's the other women? He went to prison for it. I want to see that. That's that you can't deny. What? Where is the stuff on that? Why didn't she put it out? Yeah, I'm going to look into that, you know. It's not good enough. No smoke without fire, maybe. I don't know. But there are other bits on her as well. So, and I don't, you see, usually what characterizes these historic things is that once that sister speaks, like we saw with Cassie, it opens up the can of worms, like we see on His Time Is Up. It opens up the can of worms. Oh, where was I then? Was this during lockdown? How did I miss all of that? I think it's because I wasn't on social media at that point. My social media journey began in Tanzania with the Vincent Rat story. I was not on social media. All I would have been doing is putting in Major Hype latest video or something, and it comes up with his stuff, and then that's on my timeline, and I just go around and read them or listen to them, you know? Right. Thank you for that, guys. Thank you. I'll definitely be researching that and make a decision. I'm going to try and reach out to her then. It's not that old a story, is it? I will try and reach out to her. Does anyone know her social media or anything? Put it in the chat if it is that. Guys, it's 1:45. Blessed love, my people. I'm going to get off. Have a great weekend, whatever you are doing. Enjoy the long weekend. I took a long sabbatical, which I definitely needed when I went to Jamaica in February, and that was planned, that sabbatical. Since I came back, that sabbatical has been the sabbatical. Part of it was Jamaica, but part of it was coming back here and dealing with certain things, as I said before. I keep kind of hinting, but when it all comes to fruit, I'll share with you guys properly. But part of it was getting the space to do that as well. So I haven't actually been back to work since I came back. I've done a few little odd kind of private things in terms of like just one or two. I've done assessments, a couple of assessments here and there because the money was great, and I thought, well, why not? I was called to do it. But nothing apart from that. I have not been back to work full time. And I'm going back after this bank holiday. So I'm just enjoying the last of it until I get back in the matrix, on the grind, on the treadmill, until I take my next sabbatical, people, which is always long. Thank you, Malia876. I'm definitely... Oh, it was everywhere. Well, like I said, I wasn't a social media person. It wasn't on the main news or the telly or LBC, so I wouldn't have seen it. You know, I just about used to juggle YouTube in terms of Dr. Mumbi Saraki. Stuff comes up. Major Hype. And at the time, probably in Tanzania, I wasn't even watching him that much. It wasn't a time for jokes. But prior to that, I was, and that's what I would have put in, you know. Wouldn't have seen all of that because I didn't go to social media. Anyway, I'm repeating myself, guys. Blessed love, blessed love, blessed love. And I shall see you guys again next week, where we're going to deep dive into another story from Ladbroke Grove. Look out for the perpetrator's face during the week, and we're back to business. Also, when the identity comes out, the flyers come out, which is going to be in the next week or two, and all that good stuff, we are going to start pressing for the march, and I'll let you know what the schedule is for that as we go forward towards it. Blessed love, my people. As always, I shall see you guys next week. Have a wonderful, wonderful night and weekend. Blessed love.